Hello. How's it going? Can you guys hear me all right? Welcome. TheoryCraft, episode 10. We've made it to the double digits. It's incredible, right? Absolutely remarkable. How many of you thought we were going to make it this far? But we did. It's been 3 months. It's almost been 4 months. Pretty neato. Pretty neato. How you guys doing? How's everyone doing? Doing pretty good. I need to get through this tea. I'm a little bit tired, but once I get through it, we'll be moving, we'll be grooving, we'll be doing pretty well, I'm sure. I'm going to start with something a little bit different today because, of course, we just had the patch, and I was debating whether or not in the intro, whether or not I want to talk about the patch because I don't like to talk about balance too much because this show's about solutions, not problems, you know? Well, I guess you need to have problems to have the solutions, but you know what I mean. So, I don't like to talk about the balance of things too much, and patches are all about balance. But I think we'll briefly go over them for maybe about 10 minutes. Maybe about 10 minutes. And if you're on YouTube, there's timestamps always down below. You can skip over it if you don't want to hear about it, because there's already been a bunch of opinions. The Reddit thread had like 20 different opinions on it. So I'll very briefly go through it, and we'll see if I say anything new. Maybe I'll say the same things everyone else has already said. Maybe I'll say everything incorrectly. But we'll find out. I've read them over about once, but I haven't really thought too deeply about them, so we'll see what we arrive at by just looking at the patch notes for a little bit. All right? So no one fret. You're going to see something that may be unfamiliar on this show. It'll be an overlayless screen with just the patch notes. Okay, here we go. We'll see if this works. Hold your breath. Hold your breath. All right. Here are the patch notes. Let's talk about these. So overall, Human got a bunch of buffs, right? Human got a bunch of buffs. Night Elf got a single buff. Undead got a couple of nerfs and a couple of buffs. Orc was untouched, and we'll talk about all those. And the items have changed a little bit as well. Just a general overview. But let's go down the list. So Human. Improved lumber tech requirement removed. Advanced lumber tech requirement changed from castle to keep. This is actually a pretty big deal. It seems like a little thing, but it's a pretty big deal. Because what this means is actually there used to be a build order back in the day where you'd go altar, farm, lumber mill, and then into your farm and your barracks. Because the lumber mill only costs 120 gold, maybe 140, I think 120. You can get the lumber mill very early, and not only does that give you earlier lumber, because the peasants can get there sooner, but you can also now get that upgrade. So this just makes tier 1 Human really, really strong, I think. It's kind of neat, but say you're going for a fast expansion against Night Elf or against Undead, even against Orc, even in Human Mirror. You can do this opening lumber mill first build, not first, but after the altar, of course, so you can get your hero out. And you can get improved lumber harvesting, and you'll have so much more lumber by the time you go for that expansion. So much more. So that's kind of an interesting change. Is it too strong? It's certainly not too strong on tier 2. Because maybe... I think it's the real strength of it is the fact that you can get it on tier 1 now. And you can stay on tier 1 for a longer time, go for more mercenaries, go for earlier defend. And you don't have to cut so many corners to go for that expansion because you can just get the lumber mill and you can get the improved first tech of improved lumber, and then you're all right. So it's a really interesting change, and I'm wondering if people are going to experiment with trying that lumber mill early as well. And this, of course, is all just on the PTR, right? This isn't 100% confirmed going through yet. But yeah, it's interesting. A lot of these changes seem to be tilted towards Human against Undead, which is interesting. Of course, this is as well. Knights now have Sundering Blades by default. So Sundering Blades, of course, gives you bonus damage. It's 15%. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, right. 15% bonus damage to or medium armor targets. And of course, Knights already do bonus damage to medium armor because they have normal damage. Right? So it's pretty strong. Pretty strong. Is it too strong? Maybe not. It's just a straight buff to Knights, though. And it's pretty good. I did see somebody make a suggestion. I think it was Insup on Twitter. He said because Taurens have that mini pulverize, which is like 25% effectiveness of the pulverize. Maybe Knights should have mini Sundering Blades, like 5% bonus damage. Right? Yeah, I can give you the URL. Here it is. You know, give them like 5% Sundering Blades, and then you can upgrade it for the extra 10%, right? Just like Taurens have for pulverize. Or something like that. You know, I think this just straight giving them it right away is maybe a bit too much. It's just straight up more damage to a lot of things. Right? And it makes, you know, it's mostly against fiends, of course, that this upgrade is for. But also, you know, sometimes you'll have human mirrors. Well, one player will go tier 3, and one player will stay on tier 2 with an expansion. Many breakers against Knights. This just makes Knights very, very good. It makes the tier 3 player much stronger. Someone says in chat, make it a proc, not a flat damage buff. Interesting. Interesting, yeah. Couple of things. These are very big buffs. You know, these should not be underestimated. These are not little tweaks to human, right? These are very big buffs to human. This especially, I would say, is a very big buff to human. Because that's really been their weak point for many years, is they're peasants. Right? It's always been their peasants. Many strategies are tilted towards dealing damage to peasants early on. Farseer, Warden, Death Knight with skeletons, right? Human Mirror, you've seen it all the time, right? Level 3, right away with your Archmage. Go into their base, kill peasants. Fast Expansion, they'll go Keeper, try to kill peasants. Phantom Knives, kill peasants. Panda Second, kill peasants. So many things are tilted towards dealing with the weak spot, which is essentially their peasants, their lumber economy overall, mostly. And, you know, you remove the weak spot of human, then where is the weakness, really? Where does it lie? Of course, still in the peasants, but it's not as effective. Maybe there's something better to do with your time. But it's still interesting, I think. I like to see things that may even fundamentally change how people play the race. I think that's a cool thing. That's, of course, happened to Orc recently. Right? Lots of Farseer first, Headhunters, you know, Shamans weren't even thought of to be a unit for like 10 years, right? And now they are. So it, you know, it could be interesting. And this, of course, is just a big straight buff. And the Priest Dispel range, I think this is necessary. 100 extra range. Priest Dispel is, of course, the most annoying to use. Although something Grubby pointed out with the humans is I don't think some of them quite realize that the Dispel and the heal cooldown are linked together. So if your Priest has just healed, he'll be on the same cooldown to Dispel. So sometimes people are thinking like, oh, the Dispel's bugged, it's not working, when really they just heal with that Priest. So what you should do is keep one Priest off autocast heal. Is improved lumber harvesting now. So the first tech is at tier 1. The second level is at tier 2. And there's no longer a level on castle. Right? But yeah, I think this is, you know, necessary. Why should Priest be so much worse? You know, they already have... You know, I guess because of Brilliance Aura, you could argue that they should be worse than Walkers or, you know, Destros, but... And Destros recently got a buff to the range as well, I believe, to 700. Maybe it was even more. So maybe it's necessary. I don't think this is overkill. These might be overkill. These might be. And the thing with these two changes is they're kind of lacking nuance, aren't they? They're just like, here's a couple of things that might help. Whereas this is a little bit more nuanced, maybe. This is also a little bit more nuanced, but I'm afraid of a couple things to do with it. Scout, Guard, Cannon, Arcane, repair rate is now 5 seconds faster. I believe, I'm not sure what that means, 5 seconds, but I believe it just is 33% faster repair rate on towers across the board. What does this mean? Well, overall it means it helps against things like tier 3 timings, can help you repair against destroyers, stuff like that. Of course, the Scout Tower, meaning you can repair an upgrading tower quicker as well. But what I'm worried about with this is that it may tilt towards more tier 1 tower rushes. Naga, Tinker against Night Elf, Firelord, of course, against Orc, which have fallen out of favor because of Keeper of the Grove first, because of Farseer first. But, you know, I'm not reading chat. What was said in chat? Yeah, so I'm worried about tier 1 tower rushes, of course, with this. Siege tank experience bounty reduced from 85 to 60. Of course, this was a nerf given to tanks a couple of times, I think, maybe even twice. Right? Making them give more experience, which maybe that's fine. I don't see this being a huge deal, although there could be an argument made that maybe it is. Right? But I don't see it like these are all much bigger changes than this, right? And I like tanks personally, and maybe I'm alone in that because I like breaker mirrors and bear mirrors, and I like tanks, and that's coming from someone who doesn't play human. I'm an orc player. I like tanks. I like watching them. I don't mind playing against them. I mean, they're frustrating to lose too, but like big multitask games where everyone's playing on 3 screens with mass expansions, Zeppelin dropping tanks, I think it's exciting. But yeah, it could tilt towards a much lamer game. Lots of towers, tanks, tier 3 being encouraged, fast expansions being encouraged, right? Did tanks just die to the experience nerf increase? I don't think they necessarily died. I think they're just used for more niche purposes. And I don't think this is like really breaking the camel's back with just 25 more experience. Maybe it is tilting towards people using tanks like 1 or 2 for nuanced reasons. You know, I'm going to send 1 to his main base while I attack the expansion against undead. You know, going to that from just massing tanks every game, maybe. But they're still just as strong as ever, so I'm not sure. The food thing hurt more than the XP? Absolutely. That was a much bigger nerf, and that's still around, of course. 1 extra food. But they have increased the siege tank experience a couple of times. I think they even increased it in 1.26, which was 2010. They increased the experience. I think they used to give 40. I think they used to give 40 experience. All right, this essentially, I think I'd have no problem with this. This essentially gives Druids of the Claw a rejuve straight out of the lore. So you don't have to wait for whatever 12.5 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is to have that rejuve or use Moon Juice. You just have straight a rejuve when you come out of the lore, which is good for holding, like, Elf has been struggling against Human, and, you know, very often Human will go for tier 2 timings as well. So this helps hold those sorts of timings, right? Because they'll very often hit about 45 seconds before you have Master Bears, right? Maybe a little later than that, 30 seconds. And this will help you to hold those sorts of timings because you'll have rejuve more often as you pump out the bears. This will also help in Night Elf Mirror when one player goes Potom, the other player goes Lores. This will help. A little bit more mana, but it's not that big of a change, really. Someone saying in the chat, with the upgrade you could rejuve instantly? Perhaps. Perhaps. Undead. Acolyte hit points regeneration from 4 to 3 HP per second. Necessary. Acolyte's got a lot of buffs. The regen, I think they got a little bit of a health buff. They got movement speed, of course, and then they got a slight movement speed nerf. But Acolytes are very strong. They went from being very weak to very strong. And this is necessary. Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit ridiculous. You'd have like 2 wolves hitting an Acolyte and he'd be like out healing it. You know. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. So, yeah, necessary. Not overkill. Necessary. Nuance. Totally fine with this. Rod of Necromancy, it was 22 seconds before, unless I'm misremembering. Now it's 2 seconds quicker to cooldown. Good. This is the right direction. This was too big of a nerf before. This really, really hurt. This is also good, Ritual Dagger, because it's pretty bad. I know people that don't play Undead think like, oh, why does Undead have healing? They already have Aura, they have Statues, they have Blight, they have Coil. This item was very bad, and it felt very bad to use. This does encourage, of course, Crypt Lord play, Dreadlord play, stuff like that, even more so, which is something that we should be pushed away from, most likely. But still, you know, you hate to see duds in the game. You know, like things like Necromancers for the longest time weren't used. You hate to see duds. Farsight, stuff like that. It is annoying to see. And when you have an item in your shop that's a dud, a little bit annoying. So, you know, the fact that they're trying to make this usable more so, maybe in a standard game that isn't like a huge investment on one base, I think it may be fine. Although it has seen usage with Cryptlord. But maybe we're going to see less Cryptlord with this, which is absolutely necessary. Let's see, is it enough? For 1, 2, 3 to 1, 1.5, 2. Damage reduced 75, 120, 165 to 60, 110, 150. That's a pretty big nerf. That is a pretty big nerf. Certainly enough, right? I think it's enough. The question is it too much? Probably not. It was a little bit ridiculous before. A whole second on level 3, though. An entire second. Still strong on level 1. It did quite a bit of damage as well. See, it's got 1 second reduced on level 3, but only 15 damage. It might be good. This might be good. Now the beetles have been nerfed quite a bit, though. The Impale has been nerfed quite a bit. There's been a lot of nerfs to the Cryptlord boyo. Dare I say, no, definitely not more than there was to the Keeper, right? No, maybe equal amount. And the Keeper's still seeing use, right? Plenty. And the Keeper got nerfed quite a bit after it got buffed quite a bit more than that, so. Necessary. The numbers are always a bit hard to tell if it's enough or too much, right? Right. Okay. This is a big one. Yeah, this is too much. This is too much. Yeah, this is ridiculous. 2 seconds? What does this mean? Well, it means, of course, Orc versus Undead. Your Lich comes out. You hopefully have level 3 DK by then if the game's going well for you as a Death Knight player. Most times you won't, though. You'll have 2.5, 2.6. Lots of especially European Orc players are very aggressive with level 1 Shadowhunter. 2 seconds ain't going to do nothing. 2 seconds ain't going to do nothing. Against the Orc player running across the map with 3 grunts, speed scroll, hex. Ain't going to do nothing. It still gives you the same amount of armor. So, you know, speed scroll as effective as it was before, but only 2 seconds slow. Ugh. That's a big nerf. That's a really big nerf to one of the strongest tools that Undead has against Orc, and a necessary tool against Orc. Very, very big nerf. Interesting. I was talking to someone about this as well. Boneyard no longer requires Sacrificial Pit. This means it's not as telegraphed when you want to transition to a Boneyard, especially on 2 base. You know, say against Night Elf or against Orc when you go Cripplord or DK fast expansion. Not so much against Human will you go Frost Worms. Mostly against Night Elf when you go Gargs, and against Orc when you go Mass Air. It means it's not as telegraphed. If you scout a sack pit before, you think, okay, I need to buy Dust for Shades, and I need to scout again in the future for a Boneyard. It tells you, okay, keep that in your head. I'm going to just throw Reveal in his base. I'm going to throw I'm going to Windwalk my Blade into there a little bit later. Whatever. I'm going to send a Peon in if I'm Orc as well. I'm going to ensure that he's just building Shades and not going for Worms. Now, you don't have that indicator. You scout and you see he has a Boneyard. Okay, he's got 4 Worms out, which isn't too uncommon with Cryptlord sometimes, by the way, against Orc. You do see sometimes Mass Air with lots of Frost Worms, 2 Boneyards even sometimes with armor upgrades. And then you're like, oh shit, he's got Mass Frost Worms. And there was no prerequisite before to scout it. So kind of an interesting change. And I don't think it's too strong. I think it's totally fine. It's interesting. I'd like to see how it plays out, this one, right? We'll leave it there. This is certainly too much. This is maybe interesting, I'll say. How about that? The items. Pretty cool. So essentially the items all got nerfed, but they were all too strong. All except, yeah, so they all got nerfed. They all got nerfed. This is, of course, ratios to the level 1 skill, right? So that was a 3/4 effectiveness of level 1 Brilliance Aura, and now it's half, which is all, and that's true for all these, which is necessary, I'd say, for all of these. The only one that I think has a little bit of nuance, because, of course, all these were so strong when you found them every time. Finding this as Undead was super strong. Finding any of these auras as any race that didn't already have them was super strong. Same with this guy. The only thing I would say is Lionhorn was maybe not too strong. It was one of those items that back in the day, if you guys remember, we used to sell every time. We used to sell every single time. And now it's one of those items that you find, you're like, oh, that's awesome. But is it like a game-winning item, like finding Bone Chimes in Orkmere? Or finding like Khadgars in Orc against Elf? Or Undead Mirror? Or finding like Django in Human Mirror? Stuff like that? Is it as game-breaking as that in any matchup? I don't think so. I think it's just like one of those items that's like, oh, it's like a Sobi mask. It's like, oh, that's really nice. And I'm worried that now we go back to the... Probably not. It's probably still strong, of course, when I say this. But I'm worried we go back to the thing where it's like just one of those throwaway items that no one wants to find anymore. And they're like, why didn't I find another one? But it's probably fine. It's probably still very strong. Right? But still in the right direction. These items were all too strong. In the right direction, absolutely. And resell items from 50% to 75%. I heard somebody say that this means TP sells for 266 gold. Let's do the math. 75, 150, 225. Yeah, 266 gold. Orc buff, someone says. Yeah, 262 gold. Thank you. Yes, yeah, because, right, because half of... Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so that's a lot of gold. Not quite 2 circlets. Not quite 2 circlets, but a lot. I think what they could do here... This, of course, is also a buff to undeads that sell their town portal very often. Right? So it's not just Orc, most commonly Orc, of course. But it's also to undeads, and then Night Elf and Human, of course, will never sell their town portal. Almost never. There's not really any strategy that you do that in. Because the town portal is always good for those races, especially Night Elf, because you can town portal back to Moonwells and then repush if you need to, even if you're all-inning. Selling Wand of Mana is 300 gold then? Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, this is a lot of gold for items. That's... I don't know. I just think it's too... Again, it's like these ones at the top. Like this and this. It's like just throwing it in there. It's like, here you guys go. It's just so lacking nuance, you know? It's just more gold. Yeah, and I think the town portal should still only give 50%. I don't think... Yeah. Because you start with that item, so it's not as though it's like, oh, just so Orc doesn't get this much gold. It's like, okay, every hero, the first hero you make always starts with this item, so that's why we're going to make it only sell for 50%. Interesting. An interesting choice. They've had a couple, there's a couple changes in here, although this is a pretty small patch, that are like, could be very game changing. A couple of them. Yeah, and it's going to tilt towards more Death Knight first. And then I worry for the undead players against Human now. Human against Orc isn't going to change too much. Human against Elf will change a little bit. A little bit? Is that right to say? A little bit? Maybe even more than a little bit. The one thing that isn't addressed here, and this is coming from an Orc player, I do think Orc is currently the best race. And it's being proven by the performance of Asian Orcs currently against everyone else in the world. Of course, in Europe, people tend to think that Orc isn't too strong because there just isn't that many European Orcs. And in America, we don't have that big of a sample size because we have 2 very strong players, and then everyone else, you know, isn't too competitive in the grand scheme. But I do think Orc is in a very strong position, and they haven't actually been touched here at all. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how that plays out. Are Humans going to start doing very well now? I'm not sure. But this is a lot of buffs. And Cripplord has, of course, been nerfed, which also buffs Orc indirectly. This item change also buffs Orc indirectly. Or the resell item also buffs Orc indirectly. And, of course, nerfing Cripplord also buffs Human indirectly. And doesn't do anything to Night Elf. So a lot of changes that are sort of indirectly changing specific matchups. But I'm excited to see how the game changes. I think there's a lot of interesting changes here. And I think a lot of these things are in the right direction. I'm just worried that some of them are a little bit too rushed. And maybe a couple of them are too much. But the main thing, the reason I think they rushed this patch out which I feel this may be a rush job, is because they wanted to fix this bug, which was game breaking and horrible for competitive play, and there's nothing we could do about it. And they wanted to do it with a patch, probably, so that everyone didn't complain. So they were sort of working on this patch, I imagine, for a while, and then this bug was found out about, and they're like, we got to fix this bug. So we got to patch the game. We got to send what we have now, and we just going to send it out. Whereas maybe they would have released this a month, 2 months later, if this bug wasn't around, with a little bit more detail and a little bit more thought in a couple of these changes, right? But this is what we got. This is on the PTR. So we'll see how that changes, right? All right. Any questions on that? Any questions, comments, concerns, guys, on that? Probably concerns. Probably some comments. It's pretty straightforward, though, right? Pretty straightforward. I wasn't going to do that, but figure, whatever. Give my 2 cents. I haven't actually watched any reviews on that yet, so I don't know what most people are thinking about it. I've only seen what I saw on Twitter. So I don't actually know generally what the thought is behind this. And I only read the patch notes once. I briefly went over them yesterday. So that was kind of my first look at it, my initial impressions. And I don't know what other people think, but we'll see how they line up. That's my thoughts. Reasonable patch. Personally, I don't like changing the meta by overbuffing heroes and then nerfing them again like CL, but it happens. Yeah, it's kind of it was interesting patch that they changed Criplord around, but they didn't really touch many of the other heroes. They left them sort of where they were and changed other things around. I'm worried that those buffs are encouraging human to play fast expo style even more. That is the general idea, because a lot of these buffs I feel were tilted towards human against undead, right? Do you think human will be overpowered versus Night Elf now? Possibly, because the fast expansion's stronger, but the units aren't too stronger, like, because it's only knights and tanks. Like, I mean, of course it's going to help human. It'll help human against undead and Night Elf. And then I would say orc against human is already, like, close to 50-50. Maybe slightly orc favored currently. But it's already pretty much... So now human has possibly 2 favored matchups for them. We'll see how it works out for human against undead. We'll see. Give it some time and see which of these changes go through. But maybe if undeads are forced to go back to DK only, and human has an easier time getting a fast expansion up, maybe now they're favored against undead. And then human's looking pretty good. Human's looking pretty good. And then poor Night Elf and undead aren't getting a single favorable matchup. Repair rate buff is questionable. Absolutely. Yeah, it could be questionable, and it might have weird consequences that they weren't actually thinking about. I think they were thinking, help you secure your expansion, help you not get your Arcane Tower canceled by fiends, stuff like that. Help against the Pit Lord push, Rain of Fire, stuff like that. They weren't thinking help people Fire Lord Tower rush on AZ, right? Stuff like that. Help Tinker Tower rushes. I don't think they were thinking that. But Tower rushes are kind of exciting, and they force you to play a little bit safer, a little less greedy, and we are in the meta of greed currently. Fast expansion before your Ancient War, stuff like that. So maybe this could shift the meta in a positive way, there being the threat of more aggressive cheeses early game. Could be cool. Could be cool. Fast tech from Orc. Although there's a debate to be had there that fast tech is actually stronger against Firelord Tower rushes as Orc, but we won't go there. And instant expansions for Night Elf, right? Isn't the fact that Undead can rush tier 3 something to be punished? Instead, Frost Armor denies this punishment. I don't know. It's hard to... I don't necessarily think it's a punish. Undead is... When Undead plays one base, like Orc can play one base and rush tier 3. Night Elf plays one base, rushes tier 3. Human can do the same with Inner Fire Rifles, with stuff like that. Like, every race, if they play one base exclusively, can rush tier 3. Undead just happens to do it the most. Yeah, and there's also the debate to be had. Who are they patching for? Are they patching for? I heard somebody say, I forget who, and if I remembered, I wouldn't say anyway. Throw them under the bus. It should be patched towards only the top 10 players in the world. That's what the patches should be tilted towards. I think maybe there's a debate to be had that maybe the top 30, top 50, those it should be patched towards there. But there's always sort of the player observer point of view, where do you make the game more enjoyable for the people watching, because that's what grows it and that's what keeps people interested, is the people that are watching, and that's what keeps tournaments running, or do you tilt it towards the players? And if you do tilt it towards the players, are you tilting towards the top players, the middle players, the bottom players, all of them? What are you doing? Lots of debates to be had, lots of nuances. Remo put it on. Oh, was it Remo that said that? I might have been a conversation I had privately with Remo, and he also said it there, but I don't remember. Top 10 too much. Envy, for example, makes human look OP. Yeah, right. All right, we did a half an hour of that. That's enough. Okay. No more balance talk, no more patch notes. We're done with that. And now we're into the fun. The fun. Glad we got that out of the way. There's my opinions. Now people don't have to ask me. You know, got it done. Might put it on YouTube with this VOD. Might do it separately. I don't know. Probably put it on YouTube with this VOD with the timestamp. Okay, so welcome to TheoryCraft episode 10. Of course, this is community replays. Community replays. Last week we had Human Day, which we did Human Mirror, which I thought was very fun. Maybe some of you didn't. Maybe some of you don't like Human Mirror. But I do, and I thought it was great. And next episode is going to be Orc Day, which is very exciting because I'm an Orc player, so I have lots of insights to give to you guys that I actually know to be true, which is kind of cool. Whereas for the other days, I just try to cram a bunch of studying in the week before and try to figure all this stuff out for you, and then sometimes I end up being wrong. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes we learn something. Sometimes we don't. So Orc Day is very exciting for me. That will be happening on April 1st, April Fools. Maybe I just won't show up. Of course, there's going to be no episode next week because I'm moving. And this episode started an hour early because of summertime is all confusing, but by the end of the month, we won't have to worry about that anymore. We'll be back on the same schedule. Europe and America will be synced up again, which is beautiful. All right. We got 5 replays to watch today, $5 a month. And I don't think I have any notes. Don't really have any notes to go over with you guys today. We've talked a little bit about what sort of replays I'm looking for. Of course, I'm looking for games that you lose and you don't know why, or you know, if you think you played really well but you still lost, stuff like that. Not necessarily looking for, like, you know, a 5-hour long epic game where you know you made a bunch of mistakes and here are the 10 mistakes I make, stuff like that. I'm looking for stuff. I want to help you guys improve, and I want to help myself improve and everyone in the chat improve by watching you. We'll learn by proxy of your mistakes. Carson, did I lose because I didn't play Farseer Headhunters? Possibly. But we'll get into that. Don't worry. I got you. I got you, BlackPheonix. You're the first one on the docket. A couple of notes. I would love if you guys sent me replays, if you sent it with a little bit of a description on top. You tell me what your name is, tell me what race you play, because sometimes people send me replays, and then the names in the replays don't match up with their Discords or their emails or whatever, and I'm looking at them like, I don't know who sent me the replay, which player. So that'd be nice if you could send me a little description, and just what your name in game is, what your ELO is, or your MMR is, what your rank is. That'd be great. Just 10, 20 words, 30 words. Here's my rank, here's whatever. Makes it a lot easier for me. If I've missed your replay, feel free to send it to me again. We're going to do 5 replays today. There was a couple more that I had in my folder, but, you know, best if you really want your replay to be reviewed next time in April, on April 15th will be the next one. Just poke me. Say, here is a replay. You didn't, I think you missed it or something. It got lost in translation. Check it out. Feel free to do that again if I missed your replay. What's the email again? Carson@back2warcraft.com. Or you can join our Discord, and there's a TheoryCraft channel where people have been uploading replays. Do we need to be on Warcraft 3 ladder to send replays? No, you can send me your game. You can send me any games you have. They're custom games with your siblings, whatever. And they don't have to be any particular skill level. We have a 2,000 MMR player today, and it goes down to 1,200 MMR even. I think we had 900 MMR last time, up to like Master's rank. So we had quite the big range. So don't worry, don't worry. As long as you're willing for a couple thousand people to see it, and possibly some of those people to be a little bit negative, as people are sometimes, then that's cool. And that's cool. How do you share? Where do you get the file? If you poke me on Discord, I can help you look for your replay folder. 3-hour FFA games, preferably. Who's in the next interview episode? Well, there won't be one this month because that would have been next week, and I have to take that week off, unfortunately. But there will be one at the end of April. I don't like confirming the interview until it's closer to the date because I don't like sort of entrapping the people I'm going to interview to being forced to do that date. But it's a good one if this person confirms. It's a very, very good one. I'll tell you that much. It's a very good one. Would I say it's a very, very good one no matter who I was interviewing? Yes, but this one's actually a very, very good one if the person confirms. All right? So it'll be good. Okay. Todd again. Yeah. Interview Todd again. I like that one. I like that one. Yeah, of course. I don't want to be like, yeah, this guy's confirmed for 3 months from now. And then he's like, well, I can't do it. All right. So let's jump into game 1. The first replay will be actually kind of an MMR differential. It's going to be the person who sent me this replay. His name is BlackPheonix. You guys may recognize that name from GNL. He is an orc player. He is 1500 MMR currently, and he's going to be going up against SaysO, who's going to be playing human. But SaysO, of course, plays all races. He is mainly an undead player, and he is 2000 MMR. So this is going to be quite the differential, but we'll see what BlackPheonix can do. 36-minute intro, a new record. We've done an hour-long intros before. I think the last episode was like 40 minutes even. You know, it's like catching up with you guys. This episode's going to be like 3 hours long, but that's all right. All right, so let's jump into the first game. Here we go. Here's the in-game audio. Jumping into the first game. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, and I think I got to restart War 3 Booster. 1 second. Da-da-da-da-da-da. 1 sec. We're going to go back to me, and I'm going to restart War 3 Booster. Been a couple of issues with War 3 Booster recently. I did ping them to try to get a little bit of help, but that was a little bit before the show, so possibly not early enough. And it works. Okay. Possibly not early enough, so there may be a couple of issues where the heroes are flipped. Just something we got to live with for now. All right, here we go. It's fixed. All right. Let me know if the in-game sound is all right for you guys. Of course, I just got the order of replays. We have 5 replays today. You know, if you got to go for a minute and you come back, here's what replay we're on, the red. And then here is what matchup is and what the MMR of the players are. Boom. Are you moving your cat first or last when you pack up? Last. Always last. Okay, so here's BlackPheonix. He is the orc player we're going to be watching today. He's going up against Human of SaysO. That's on Northern Isles. So there's a lot to learn here. What I like to do at the beginning of replays is say what's the general assumption we can make if we are the orc player. Well, we're going for a barracks first, right? We're not going to be able to send a scout, so we're going to run over there, I imagine, with a Farseer and try to harass him. Where are the couple of creep camps that the human could be creeping? Well, of course, this camp first, or this camp, the Tuskar, or he could be going for a fast expansion. So we need to make sure that our wolves clear all 3 of those options. So generally, you'll send one wolf up here and go past the green camp, and then another wolf here, and then the Farseer will go into the middle so that he's closest to both of the options, or all 3 of the options, if you will. Right, so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to see where his wolves go initially, and then he's got to confirm what the creep camp is. Generally speaking, if the human goes for this creep camp first, they're either going to be going for an expansion, or they're going to be going for a very fast tech. 2 farms at home. If they go for this first, then they're going to be going for early level 3 Archmage. And they're going to be trying to come into my base, cancel some burrows with level 3, stuff like that. Right, there's a couple of options. And this is what we're initially going to be looking for, and we're going to see how BlackPheonix reacts to the information he's gained here. Pretty interesting. If you go to Reddit, you can find all the patch notes. All right. I imagine it will be a Farseer. If it's a Blade Master, I'm going to be very confused, and I'm not going to know what sort of advice to give BlackPheonix. So let's see.
Work complete.
Hey, Swirty S. Keep up the good work. 10 euros. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. I'll try my best. Hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying all the streams here. We've had a pretty busy week on Back to Warcraft, so appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. All right, Farseer's coming out. Grunt is coming out. As Hitman likes to say, if you're going to go for the Grunt against Human, you got to get something done. Got to get something done. So let's see if you're able to get something done. Of course, it's going to be great against a potential fast expansion. It's also going to be great if the Human's going for a delayed tech and trying to creep fast level 3 because you can pressure them more off of creep camps. Right? So we'll see. Sometimes this is just rolling the dice. A fast tech would, of course, be better if the Human's also going for a fast tech, but this Grunt's going to be better if the Human is going for a slow tech and creeping. So we'll see if there's a nice little counter by BlackPheonix. We'll turn off the Fog of War, see what the Human's doing. Human is going for the green camp, which if I look in his base, I should see 2 farms, but maybe I won't. Okay, only 2 farms. Okay, nope, there's 3 farms. A little bit of a different strategy than I recommend from Human players. Also a tower. You know, debatable. Debatable say so, but, you know, you're higher MMR than me, so whatever. All right, when we come in here, we didn't actually send our wolves to the top and bottom to see what camp he's going, but we did just run here. But we now can confirm by seeing those claws what camp the Human went for right away. Now our goal is to put damage as much as possible on this Archmage. As much as possible. That's what we should go for. As much, every time we get the chance to attack the Archmage, we should. And this is pretty good so far. The wolves could go on the Archmage as well. And we see, SaysO went for those 3 farms with the tower, so he really desperately wants to creep up to Archmage level 3 if he can. MMR race specific, if you're asking if SaysO's 2k on Human, I don't think he is necessarily. Nice last hit. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay. This is about as good as it goes for the Orc player. Is this game-winning damage? Possibly. The follow-up's going to be very important, but you got the last hit on the big creep there, and you killed the Archmage. Now what do you do? Now what do you do as the Orc player? Does anyone in chat know? What would you do here? What's the best thing to do? You just killed the Archmage. He's coming out of the altar. You know he already crept this green camp. What do you do? What's the best play, possibly? You've got 4 footmen on you, so you can't take anything super greedy. No, SaysO was raced up as Human here. I believe it was a practice game, so. Someone says creep, someone says harass peasant, someone says creep his side, take creeps away. Agreed, yeah. But the thing with there being 4 footmen on the Farseer is, ideally you would like to take this, if you can. But I would say, yeah, come over here, creep this, get level 2. Level 2 Farseer is extremely good at pressuring the Human. When the Human's Archmage comes out, he's only got 2 options. He's got this option and this option, or he can just chill on what I think is level 1. Yeah, level 1.6. So yeah, pressure these footmen off you and try to steal this green camp. That would be great. We'll see what BlackPheonix does. He can't take anything too greedy. Actually, he gets surrounded, but luckily he fights his way out. I mean, if SaysO is just going to bully me with his footman, then more than happy just to put damage on the footman. But now would love to see him go and creep this green camp. This is very often, why I asked that question is this is very often where people will not know what to do when they're ahead like this, when they've killed their opponent's hero, and they'll just go into the base or do something. This is all good damage on the footman, however. Tier 2's soon to be finished. The Archmage should be pretty much out now. Yeah, he is out. And we see he's calling militia just to creep this green camp. If this green camp was gone right now, for instance, and the Farseer was here with level 2, waiting for the Archmage to commit to something, this would be a very good position for the Orc player. But it's still good, of course, right? It's still good. Because now we're going to get level 2. Something I think is very important, though, in this matchup is to, if you're going to creep with your Farseer, it's very important to have wolves on the human side of the map to continuously chase this Archmage around. You always need to know where the Archmage is, because if you get creepjacked by a level 1 Mountain King, for instance, that's probably on his way out soon. Should be out soon. There it is. 55 seconds and it'll be out. You need to keep track of the Archmage. And we see the Farseer is going across the map to go for pressure now, but because there wasn't an earlier wolf scouting where this Archmage was going, now BlackPheonix is going to miss the creep camp, the greedy creep camp of SaysO, where he could have killed maybe 3 peasants, 2 footmen. This is all just because a wolf wasn't sent to the human side of the map just to follow around the Archmage. Just make sure you know where he's going. You're not going to get much done with the wolf, but you're going to confirm where he's going so that your Farseer with 250 mana can come here and do a lot of damage. Look how much damage you could do if you were already here when he started creeping this, which is very much a possibility, but still totally all right. Your TC's going to start creeping. I'm assuming you scouted this blacksmith, so that's why you're not going for a bestiary. If you did see double sanctum, of course I'd love to see a bestiary, right? But as it stands, against rifle caster, grunt, shaman, with some upgrades, would love to see a war mill, totally acceptable. Level 3 Archmage. Again, no wolf scouting. Because not only do you want to do this when the Archmage is creeping, you also want to do this when the Mountain King's creeping. You can't commit to really going for last hits or anything because you risk getting storm bolted and surrounded. But at least you can slow him down just a tiny bit. Any amount is good because then you win the race with your Tauren Chieftain, right? Still very good creeping. You still have your Tuskars over here, which is a possible next camp. Very standard. That's what SaysO's doing, is going for the shop first with Rifle Caster. Pretty good. Pretty good choice from him. Pressuring with his Archmage that actually gets caught out. Is this a town portal? Could have speed scrolled and gone for that. I think that would have been the right option. Speed scroll, stomp, go for this round. It's very committal, yes. But I think he could have landed it. I think it was almost guaranteed. Almost. What you can do when you don't go for a bestiary and you just go for pure grunt shaman is really try to contest the items, contest that heal scroll, contest that invuln, which you could very well do. Alright, this is a good fight. Trading shamans for rifles, totally acceptable. Footman, rifle going down. One more stomp, kill this rifle, and then I'd love to see you speed scroll away after you kill this one more rifle. But a nice little micro from SaysO to get away. Could have invested the speed scroll. Now you do it, maybe too late, but you have a second speed scroll, so it's alright. You kill one more rifle. Your shaman was pressured back, which is a little bit unfortunate, but again, trading shamans here is totally fine. You're always going to lose a lot of shamans. Right? You're always going to lose a lot, but now you're overcommitting. Now this is an overcommitment. I would say once you pass this threshold, you were overcommitting. Because a very good piece of advice I got from Hitman, especially when it came to Orc in specific, if you've killed one unit and lost nothing, you've won the fight. You don't have to do anything else. And here, you started the fight, you killed one rifle and a footman, you had lost, I think, a shaman, and then you even killed a second rifle. But you still committed in, and then you lost a second shaman, then you lost a grunt, and now the trade is even. Now the trade is even, right? And you've invested speed scrolls, you've invested salves, all your mana, right? You gave him the opportunity to even it up. You still won that fight, I would say, because you got that third rifle in the end, but you gave him the opportunity to even it up. If you've killed one unit and lost nothing, you have won the fight, and you should be happy just to run away. Because imagine you do that 10 times. You kill one unit, you speed scroll away, kill one unit, speed scroll away. You do that enough times, suddenly you have a 15 supply advantage. From taking these little fights, which is something Orc is very good at. Little fights, little trades, one unit at a time. Especially against things like Mountain King, right? Good items for the Mountain King, though. It's going to get level 3, Ring of Protection. One thing you also want to be doing when you are not going for a bestiary is you need to ensure that there's no second sanctum coming up. You need to send wolves periodically into the main base, because if there's a second sanctum coming up, then you need to get a bestiary, of course, and possibly think about expanding. Claws +9, left on the ground. Mistakes happen. It's all right. SaysO doing very well to just power creep. He's got a TP. He's taking every risk creeping, and he can because he could just get out. Totally happy. And he gets more intelligence. Is always good. SaysO is probably not going to be looking to fight until he has a mana pot. Nice little hit and run. Lightning shield, a grunt into the peasant line. Oh, all right, just go for that rifle. Go for that rifle. Yup. And then speed scroll away. Oh, this is actually a winnable fight. But again, this is a position where you could certainly overcommit. One rifle fell, a shaman fell, two rifle fell. Go, I think one more stomp and then you get out of here. One more stomp and you get out of here. Ooh, yeah. Now, see, now you're overcommitting. I would say once this grunt hit like 300 health, that's when you were overcommitting. So this is the second time you've started a fight favorably and then overcommit. What's up, Duck? How you doing, man? See, now you've been overcommitting this whole time. Even if you speed scroll away and he bolts a grunt and kills it, that's totally fine, right? Even if. Like, you're always going to lose one unit speed scrolling away, but you killed two rifles immediately, made him call militia, you made him use all his mana, you made him town portal, right? Even just the town portal for one grunt is totally fine. So again, you've overcommitted twice to fights you were winning initially. And you notice how the beginnings of your fights, the first 15 seconds, are always perfect for you. They're always very well done. You know, you always initially focus fire very well, and then you start to slouch a little bit as the fights go later, and you start to lose a lot. Now it's 40 supply against 50. Oh god, he bought a potion of greater mana instead of breaking upkeep. And it's not looking good. Again, but we don't have to build a bestiary. There's nothing really we're doing wrong in the macro department. We're getting upgrades on our grunts. We have an invuln. I believe we used the heal scroll before. We got a potion of greater mana. We'd still probably be winning if we had just gotten out of those fights earlier. We would have still been in the same position. Our army would have been fine. You don't need an expansion here. Your hero levels are fine. Another heal scroll would be great. But his army's just too big now because he was trading later on favorably. One rifle falls. Not a fight you're going to win. Not a game you're going to win. There is, you know, if you want to be a super lame-o, you could retrain Shockwave and play hit and run for the next 20 minutes, but you're not a lame-o, so you're going to lose the game. These things happen. GG is called. Yeah, so I think the main thing with that, Phoenix, is knowing when to fight, understanding what your trades are in every matchup with Orc, in fact. Not just against human. In every matchup, you need to think about how am I going to take these fights where I can trade favorably in the first 15, 20 seconds and get out of there. Yeah, you might lose a unit to Coil Nova. You might lose a unit to Stormbolt, to Entangle. When your Shamans are out of position against Night Elf, you may lose single units running away, but you need to trade favorably and get out. One unit and you've already won the fight. Pretty good considering the MMR difference. An excellent job considering the MMR difference, yes. An excellent job. A very close game that you definitely could have won even with the same level of micro that you did in those fights. Just a matter of getting out. Thank you, Stars and Stripes. Yeah, Duck says Hitman will literally speed scroll in the same fight just to reposition. Yeah, and just because you have melee units doesn't mean you shouldn't be kiting. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be kiting. You should still be kiting. And that's why Orc is a very micro-dependent race, because you have to be kiting, right? It's very, very difficult. Very difficult. And you have to purge out of position rifles. See, this is the same thing against Night Elf when you have Shamans and Grunts. What do? You kite back. Their units Congo line, because rifles are very weird at positioning. They Congo line. Well, you're kiting backwards. One rifle's out of position, you purge, you focus it down with 5 grunts, kill it, and then you keep kiting back. Right? And you just try to do 1-for-1 trades. Eventually he's out of mana. Slow fights. Same thing against undead. You're kiting back, your Blade Master wind walks into the back of the base and picks off a statue with orb. He goes back to kill it. You ensnare a fiend that's out of position, you kill that with your army, and then you keep just tug of warring. Same thing against Night Elf. You purge out of position huntresses, make him run through wards. Always the same thing with Orc. Unless you're an Orc mirror and then you're up against Ensnare and you both just sort of attack into each other. But you're always taking short fights and just trying to pick off one unit and get out of there. Always with Orc. That's something to think about. It's very difficult, but something to think about. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, our next replay. Boo, 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 boo. I don't have the MMR for these players because they're playing on Battle.net, and I don't like to assume people's MMRs. But let's just say, 1,300 to 1,500, somewhere in that range. And this will be Human against Orc. Our good friend Fred submitted this replay. Don't believe he's the South American Orc player, Fred, because this guy's a human player. I think he's even in the chat. I think this is a different person. Yeah, Mr. Fred, 1996 in the chat. It's him. Yeah, don't believe this is the same player as the Orc player, SG Fred. Different Fred. And he's a human player. Sorry for the people getting timed out. There's just too much things in the chat to get you timed out. Okay, this will be on Terran to Stand. It'll be Fred against Urusa. And we'll see how it goes. PogChamp, here's the replay too. I love that the people are in the chat as well. This makes this way more enjoyable. Replay 2. I put 1,300 MMR question mark. Not really sure. I watched this replay once at 64 times speed, so I didn't get to see too much. Just a guess. Just a guess, but let me know if it's different. Alrighty. Okay, so this is not our champion. This is our opponent, the Orc player, and then Fred, our main man, Human. Let's talk about Human against Orc on Terran to Stand. Okay, in the chat, can you guys tell me, what are just your first thoughts that come when you think about Human against Orc on Terran to Stand? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Oh, wait, I'll give you a second. What's the first thing that comes to your mind as I sip my tea? Good. Human free win, MK, Mana Pop, Penna, GG, Expo, Expand, Wyvern, MK, Shadow Priest, Expand, MK, Expo. Good. Yes. Mr. Fred says Expo. Absolutely correct, Mr. Fred in the chat. Blade Master, Shadowhunter to Dispel Wolf. Oh, Shadow to Dispel Wolf. Cancel Fast Expo. Humba, Hit and Run, MK Fast Expansion. Should have played Elf. Mercs. Good stuff. Okay. Human against Orc on Terran to Stand. So you go into a best of 5, right? You go into a best of 5. That means there will be 5 maps played. There's 7 maps in the pool, so that means you can both say, I don't want to play one map, and your opponent can say, he doesn't want to play one map. Human in Human against Orc will always get rid of Twisted Meadows for reasons that we'll talk about another time. Orc will always get rid of Terran to Stand. From the top level orcs, Lin, Fly, Focus, Soen, Hitman, they'll all get rid of Terran to Stand to the lowest level. Even I'll get rid of Terran to Stand. Why will I get rid of Terran to Stand against Human? Because they get a mercenary camp for free and they can get a Shadow Priest to disenchant my wolves. Why do I need to go Farseer with wolves? Well, because I need to deal with their expansion. And it's much more good at dealing with a fast expansion. They get a Mountain King. They Stormbolt surround my grunts. They kill all my mercenaries. They get level 5. They clap everything. They go into whatever army they want. And then I just die. They get level 3 for free. They get mercs for free. Their expansion is extremely safe. It is the best map for Human against Orc. And it's the best map for Human against Orc because of Mountain King, Mercenary Camp, Fast Expansion. Those 3 things early on that snowball you into the mid, into the late game. So we're going to see if our good friend Fred takes advantage of those things that makes this map so strong for Human. All right. Here we go. Let's check it out. We're going to see. Because if he doesn't, then we're on an even playing field, right? Then it's all right. Then we can start talking about some other things, of course. But there may be some fundamental issues with not necessarily, and this is totally fine, not necessarily understanding why some maps are very strong for specific races. Right? And it's certainly not a free win for human. It's just the best possible map for human, right? It's not like, you know, some maps are just good for some races, right? And you do still have to know what to do. You still have to play it very well to beat orc players on Terranistan, but you're still in a very good position just from the loading screen. Okay, Archmage. What did we say before? Mountain King. Why Mountain King? Because Mountain King, you know, you get level 5, it scales very well. It can also help you secure this expansion much better against Harass because you threaten bolt surrounds. My cat is meowing. I might need to let my cat in again. We'll see. Our orc opponent is going for a Blade Master. Very old school style Terranistan game here. We won't talk too much about the Blade Master. Farseer is better for many reasons in this current meta, but that's all right. Okay, Archmage. So that's one thing that we're not taking advantage of that's very strong on this map, which is Mountain King. Well, the second thing would, of course, be this Mercenary camp. For Mercenaries, of course, we're against the Blade Master, but we don't know that. We should be assuming we're against a Farseer, so we should be assuming that the Shadow Priest is very strong. Right? So we should be going for this. A little bit of idle time, totally fine. Oh, 5 Militia called going towards the expansion. Yeah, I only watched on the 64 times speed, but, you know. All right, second thing off the checklist. The third thing is, of course, this fast expansion, so we are getting the third thing that makes this very strong for human, but not the first two. So already we're taking two advantages that this map just gives us by default and throwing them out the window, right? Pendant of Energy. Can you imagine if this was on a Mountain King? Level 2, Blade Master, got items from the shop, and he's coming across the map. This is alright, though. And typically another thing I will say, Fred, is the reason why a lot of the time humans will creep a couple of camps first. Of course, it's great that the first camp you're able to creep on this map is this mercenary camp. You get a consumable, you get another permanent item, you get access to mercenaries. But there's two reasons why humans will do this. One, if you creep this, then you creep this, then you creep your expansion, you get level 3 on your hero. Two, you need to wait for a little bit more economy, typically. Like right now, you have enough gold and lumber for the expansion, but you're not producing a footman, you're not producing more peasants, you're not producing a fourth farm or a tower, right? So typically you need to wait a little bit longer, like 20 seconds longer, which will give you 200 more gold, before you can afford this expansion on top of everything you need at home. So that's why this mercenary camp is very strong. I gotta let my cat in. That's why this mercenary camp is very strong on top of, you know, everything that it gives you as well. Come on. All right, my cat's gonna join us again. All right, here we go. But yeah, you're building the expansion, which is great. This is a very early expansion, but we can see back at home, no fourth farm. You're not macroing peasants. You're not building footmen, right? Many things you're missing out on by having an expansion this early. And imagine if Farseer was here with a Grunt and a level 2 and a Shadow Priest, which is very typical. You could really just lose all these peasants, and then you have no backup plan. Because what this should be happening here right now, and if you look up a top-level ladder game, because, of course, in tournaments you won't ever see Orc against Human for reasons I just stated, but if you look up like a high-level ladder game of Orc against Human, what you're going to see at this stage in the game is the Orc player's taken his mercenary camp. He's taken this. He's bought items from a shop. He's got level 2 Farseer, 2 Grunts, and a Shadow Priest, and he's harassing your expansion. Right? That's typically what you're going to see at this stage in the game. You imagine that happening to you right now. Chain Lightning on these peasants, Wolves on this peasant, Grunt, canceling the expansion. You have 3 footmen to defend. You would have lost every single peasant. This expansion would have got canceled, and then the Orc player would have just ran away and salved. Which is why it's typically very difficult to hold this with just an Archmage. And, you know, typically why you delay this expansion a bit so that you have your own mercenaries, you have your own level 3, all that good stuff. Right? But we'll see how much damage he does with the Blade Master. All right, nice little micro there. I like that. I like the positioning. You could have built it maybe 1 hex to the left, and then you would have had even more maneuverability. But pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Blade Master has not another Windwalk, but he does have another Clarity. That's one thing I would have checked on this blade, is immediately when I see him. Always making sure what his Windwalk count is. Right? Does he have 5 Windwalks? Not possible. Does he have 0? Maybe I can go for a surround. Does he have 1? Maybe I can force that last Windwalk, and then his harass will be over. You also have formation movement on. You may fix this eventually, but if you don't, formation movement is down here. What does formation movement do? This may be news to actually a lot of people watching. Formation movement slows down your entire army that's in the control group to the slowest unit. So in this case, your entire army is running as fast as a water elemental. I'll show you. Wait, did you fix it? You may have fixed it. You may have actually fixed it. Emerald 381 with the 16 months. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You may have fixed it. I may have missaw. Let's see. Okay, no, you don't have it on. But if you did have it on, this will be a triangle. You should click this once and we'll fix it. Thought I saw formation for a second. Water elemental going down. Lost 3 peasants. Totally acceptable losing 3 or 4 peasants. You got the expansion secured. So I would say you're actually in a good position here. Formation movement seems to toggle itself. That's because you're hitting Alt-F sometimes. Alright, you did figure out about formation movement. Very good. Stars and Stripes with the $10. Thanks, buddy. 10 euros. Always a pleasure, he says. It's always a pleasure to have you modding, have you updating the caster command. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. Formation was on until you mentioned it? Okay, so he fixed it in the past, but I mentioned it in the future. Beautiful. Very fast tech. So now, although you did some things wrong, Fred, right, maybe I shouldn't say wrong, suboptimally, right? Not taking advantage of everything you could have taken advantage of. You're still ahead here. You're still in a good position. You're still in a good position. You're still in a winning position here. Okay, so we'll see if you do end up losing this game, what happens. Or, you know, if it does end up you getting in a spot where you could lose, how that happens. Because you are in a winning position right now. The expansion's up and secure. Your tech's on the way. You lost 4 peasants. Totally acceptable. You got Arcane up. You're going to have level 3 Archmage soon. You're in a good spot. You're in a good spot. Our Orc opponent is on tier 2. He's got a Dark Ranger, and he built a couple of Headhunters. All right. All right. All right. This is very committal from our Orc opponent, but maybe it'll work. I would love to see probably Defend coming up because our tech is going to be very delayed. So maybe Defend would be nice. Gonna kill 2 Headhunters. This is a totally fine trade for us. Totally acceptable. Very good stuff. And now he's stuck on a Dark Ranger. So now all we need to do, we get to tier 2, we get our Mountain King out, we creep our Mountain King up, we get our strong tier 2 army, and he has a Dark Ranger. And he has a Dark... Always remember that. Always remember that. When your opponent does something like this, say he built a Tinker second to pressure your expansion. Say he built a Naga second. Say he went Farseer second. Nice surround, by the way. Well done. Glad we paused in this moment. Remember, he has a terrible second hero. The later the game goes, the better it is for us. All we have to do is remember, if we just build a Mountain King second, if we build a Paladin third, if we go tier 3, if we creep up, he has a Dark Ranger second. Is this going to scale into the late game? No, it's not. Is it going to scale as good as a Shadowhunter or a Torrent Chieftain second? No, it's not. So the later this game goes, even if our opponent gets an expansion up himself, it's still going to be better for us because what is a Dark Ranger going to give him in the late game? So that's what we should be thinking about, right? Going later on into the game. He has a Dark Ranger. Nice kill. He has a Dark Ranger. So we just need to delay the game. Just need to delay the game, and we're chilling. I like the towers, the early guard towers, because of course you're aware he could possibly have bestiaries coming up. I'm sure that's what you were thinking right now, so good. Very good. This is very good. Probably in the main base. Would love to see maybe 2 guard towers in the main base for the same reason. Blacksmith could go for rifles. Maybe open up the base, go for rifles. That's another way you could deal with potential Wind Riders. But you would have already seen Wind Riders if he was going for them. Alright, you got level 3 Archmage. You're waiting for your second hero to come out. Once this tier 2 is done, could go for a Mountain King, of course. In the meantime, maybe you could be pressuring some burrows. You got level 3 Archmage. There's some potential there. You could be trying to slow him down, but you know, at the moment you're just cruising. You're just cruising. Orc player's going for 2 Spirit Lodges. Interesting. Interesting. We have to wait until Fred, of course, scouts this, and then we'll talk about what we should be doing once we do scout it. That's also another point where you should be scouting as well. Send one of these footmen, because what are the possibilities, right? The possibilities are, of course, straight tier 3 to get a tiny Grey Hull counter expand, 2 Bestiary Wind Riders, 2 Bestiary Raiders. We saw Headhunters. It could be like a 2 barracks Headhunter push or something weird. Of course, we're in Wacky Town because it's a Dark Ranger and Headhunters, but there's plenty of options for the Orc is the point I'm making. So we need to be scouting to see what option he's actually choosing, because so far we've only seen 2 Headhunters and a Dark Ranger and a Blade Master. We haven't even, let's see, have we seen his main base? We haven't even seen his main base. So it's very crucial. You don't need to scout too often, but you should be scouting at least a couple of times just to see what units he's going for, especially when you're the one on the defensive, because he's the one that's been pressuring you. Because right now you're in the dark, you don't actually know what units he should be building on tier 2. For instance, what if you commit to like a tier 3 tech or something, Griffin Aviaries, and he's going 2 Bestiary Wind Riders, and he comes into your base and kills all your peasants, and then you're like, oh, I'll build a couple Dragonhawks, and he's already got Bat Riders, right? That's why it's important, around this time at least, to just go for a single scout. Don't overdo it for yourself, just a single scout. Right? Nothing too crazy. You can even lose that scout. You could even suicide a footman into his base. Not even notice that it's dying, and then you go back here eventually, and you go, okay, I see those 2 Spirit Lodges, right? A couple of footmen gonna go down, totally fine, totally fine. A couple more footmen gonna go down, again, totally fine. Not a big deal. We're still in a very, very good position here as the human.
Our forces are under attack.
What are we missing? We're missing the Mountain King. And we're missing a scout. I won't say that 2 Sanctums and a Blacksmith is incorrect yet, because we don't actually know what our opponent is doing quite yet, right? Because we see a lot of different options. We two Sanctum Breaker Sork Priest. We see Rifle Caster. We see tier 3 with Griffins. Sometimes Frag Sharp Mortar teams with Knights. We see a lot of things against or with when top humans are playing fast expansion against Orc, and they're all viable. Especially because you have Archmage first, 2 Sanctum is definitely viable. But yeah, this Mountain King being out would be crucial, because with Bolt, if you keep a couple of those footmen alive, you have map control, you can go for this camp, get level 3 Mountain King. You'll have level 3 Mountain King just in time to potentially push his expansion, stuff like that. So having this secondary hero is probably the biggest mistake so far. And we see he's creeping up the Dark Ranger. It's not going to be great, but he's creeping up the Dark Ranger. I don't know what he's going to get out of the Dark Ranger. Not much, but it will be level 2, level 3. First BM, you want to go Rifle. This is typically the Wisdom, but, you know, there's certainly more options. Honestly, in this position, the human can go whichever units they want. Honestly. As long as you're creeping up a Mountain King, and as long as you're macroing cleanly. Which currently, you know, you're going to have a lot of units, to be fair to you. You're going to have a lot of units. So you should be alright. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Zataria with the 33 months, thank you. He says, oh, I shouldn't actually read that. I mean, if someone can translate, I'll read it, but I shouldn't speak in a foreign language that I don't actually speak and then say it out loud. All right, what did we say earlier about the Dark Ranger? What did we say earlier? What did we say? What did we tell you about the Dark Ranger? It's a South Park quote. What did we tell you about the ladder to heaven? What do we say about the Dark Ranger, Fred? What do we say about the Dark Ranger? The DR sucks. Doesn't scale better late. What is the best scaling late game hero in the entire game? Well, one of them. Mountain King. What doesn't scale very well? Well, Alchemist. And Alchemist is good early on. You know, it's of course good later on for Night Elf, but they're very much playing a tempo play. Alchemist is good, you know, in niche positions. Mountain King is so good against Orc. So good. The later it goes, the better. Level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, they're all good. Warden is pretty good later on. But Alchemist is certainly not one of the top choices for the strong scaling late game heroes. So now you're playing into his hand. He went for a hero that's initially good. When he gets it out of the tavern, it's good to sort of snowball a lead. And now you're playing a hero where you just wanted to fight with him in exchange when that's, you know, typically all he's going to want with this weird hero. Mountain King second. You always should counter unorthodox things with just playing solidly standard because you're always going to scale better. Yeah, Demon Hunter may be the best. Mountain King's certainly one of the best ones, though. Certainly. Build a Mountain King. Don't be afraid to build a Mountain King. It's a very good hero. Don't be afraid of the Mountain King. Imagine clapping this. Imagine that. But now, with the Alchemist, what becomes our problem? What do we have to change? Because, okay, let's say, okay, Alchemist, that's cool. That's cool. You know, he's got a good plan. He's gonna make it work. He's gonna use it for tempo and to pressure the potential counter expansion. Let's say, okay, that's cool. What do we need now that we win Alchemist second, though? What do we have to supplement because we don't have our Mountain King? What do we need to do? What do we need to do? There's a couple of things that I would suggest doing now that we have this Alchemist. The first, I would suggest some sort of damage unit. So either, tier 3 Griffins or tier 3 Workshop Fragshar Mortar Teams. Also on top of that, I would suggest probably Blizzard. Because what are we missing when we don't have our Mountain King? Well, we're missing damage. That's really what human has to be thinking about at all times in most matchups. Where am I getting my damage from? Am I getting them through rifles? Am I getting them through the Mountain King? Am I getting them through Griffins? Am I getting them through mortar teams, inner fire? What am I getting my damage through? Because currently, where is the damage in this army? Especially once these water elementals are dealt with, it's nowhere. Got no rifles, we got no clap, we got no blizzard. We got no mortar teams. We need to... This is fine, right? Alchemist, whatever. But we need to find a way to deal damage. Right? So, let's say, you know, let's humor the Alchemist second and say, okay, that's cool, but we need some damage. We're going tier 3. This could definitely just mean tier 3 for, like, say, a Paladin or a Mountain King third, and just Frag-Sharp mortar teams. Would be a totally acceptable army composition. Right? So I'd love to see some mortar teams in the future. Would love to see it. Ba-doo-ba-doo-boom. 8 units are queued, totally fine. It's better to use them than to not use them. I was going to say than to lose them, but that's not actually accurate. Totally fine, man. If you need to queue up 5 units to remember to build units, that's all right, man. As long as you're building units, that's really what's crucial. The issue is when you queue up units like this, and you don't have surplus gold if you need something, like if you need to buy a heal scroll, or you need to buy an embalm, if you need to build your third hero, and you don't have the gold for it. But since Fred, he's got 1,000 gold, the fact that he's got all these units queued up is totally fine. It would only be a problem if he had 0 gold, and he may need to build something. What if he needs to get a Shredder here, or a Zeppelin, and he doesn't have the gold for it because he's got 10 units queued up? That's when it becomes a problem. This Zeppelin play, maybe not ideal. Have we scouted the main base yet? This is, okay, so your Zeppelin dropping into the main, I think this is a bug, by the way. Your Zeppelin dropping into the main, you haven't even seen what units he's going for. I would just recommend creeping here. You could Zeppelin drop perhaps his expansion, right? Because delaying his expansion is always a good idea. But Zeppelin dropping the main, I would say just go creep this Alchemist to level 3 and you're totally fine. But still, you're doing some good damage. But it's so risky getting a Zeppelin like this against Orc, because he's got burrows, you know, Orc typically always has anti-air, maybe they even have a Bat Rider, maybe they have Raiders for ensnare. Right. And we killed, what, 2 peons for a town portal, not an even trade for us, but we do have the expansion, so it's alright. Assume this is Knight upgrades. Knights are good for damage too, but they're really not, you know, they're not your main source of damage. Still, would love to see a workshop for mortar teams. Would love to see it. Acid Bomb will also help with those mortar teams. You imagine. Level 2 Acid Bomb, Frag Sharp mortar teams on all these units. That'd be incredible. That'd be incredible. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. The expansion for the Orc is now up, which has not been scouted, but we can assume that our opponent, because he's been so passive, is planning to just go for an expansion of his own. The Blade Master is ridiculous, killing everything. And especially because our opponent is now tier 3, we have to be really worried about an orb on the blade, killing the Zeppelin. Very worried about that. Nicely blocking your base. Good job. You would lose a lot here. Oh, it's not blocked. Okay. I thought this one tree was keeping it safe, but it wasn't. Oh, Jesus. Where's the Zeppelin going? And again, just better scouting, you know, a little bit better scouting, you know, sending a water elemental here or just revealing. Like, it's totally fine to just spend 50 gold and just reveal the expansion every so often. Makes it very easy. We'll see how much damage this drop does. Oh, God, you have no town portal. Oh, Jesus. Oh, dear Lord, you have no town portal. I would be surprised if you got out of here with both heroes. There's a Purge. There's a Purge. Oh, Jesus. There's no way. Fred, you madman, are you gonna get out of here? Oh, an absolute madman. Fred makes it out of there alive, actually trading favorably. Oh my God. You did it, bro. You did it. Okay, that was very risky, but if it works, it works. If it works, it works. What a mad lad. All right, well, you made it out of there alive. Again, would love to see... I think the Knights are a great addition, but I would love to see mortar teams. Love to see mortar teams. Fred the madman. It's unbelievable. He makes it out of there with bloodlust to boot. Incredible. All right. 56 against 78. We're still in a good position. We're still in a good position, right? 82 supply. Would love to see some heal scrolls. Retrain into Blizzard would be great as well. Excuse me. There's always a question when you go Alchemist second as human, because it's not unheard of course, is what third hero do you go for? Do you go for a Blood Mage? Mountain King? Paladin? You, of course, already sometimes have heal spray, so the Paladin isn't necessary. So sometimes Mountain King third or Blood Mage third is very good with Alchemist second. But I do think a third hero would be great for Fred. And of course, mortar teams. Where's the damage? Where's the damage in this army? The Knights are alright, but they're not great. Where's the damage? Where's the damage? He's got a lot of damage. He's got Bloodlusted Berserkers. He's got a Blade Master with plus 19, right? He's got plenty of damage. But still, we have a big supply advantage. Very big. 84 against 62. We still don't know that there's an expansion, I imagine, but there should be an assumption made at this point in the game that the Orc is still in the game for a reason. And he's in the game because he has an expansion running. So imagine 3 Frag Sharp Mortar teams, Mountain King level 3 clapping on all this right now. Imagine that. We're still going to win the fight, but just imagine. We can steal all these, assuming we have control magic. Ooh, we definitely should. Oh, what, Fred? I don't think you have control magic. Very chaotic fight. See, there's just not much damage, right? It's not much damage. 20 supply advantage, and there's not a big damage. Not a big damage dealer. Oh, the Archmage. Okay. Oh, but the blade dies. And it looks as though Fred has done it. But you imagine a world, Fred, where the supplies were even, right? 80 against 80 there. And the Orc had like a couple of Taurens, which he's going into now. I think he definitely wins that fight because you're lacking damage. Your positioning was fine. You kept your Archmage alive. You used your abilities well. Your heal spray was good. Maybe lacking a couple of disenchants, but that's totally fine. But there's a world in which you could have lost this game, and you've been up, what? Let's see. 8,000 gold? Oh, okay. 4,500. Still a big amount, though, right? And imagine a world also where the Orc has a Shadow Hunter, right? And the reason why these fights could be so close is just because you have to be thinking as a human, where is my damage coming from? Because human units are typically all support, no damage, right? All support, no damage. Breakers, priests, sorks, alchemists, archmage, all support, no damage. Without Blizzard, of course. And GG's call. All right. Thank you for that, Fred. Appreciate that. A couple of questions in the chat towards the tail end of that replay. Let's see. Why are people submitting replays of them winning? Isn't this help for studying? Yeah, it's typically better to submit replays where you lose. That is generally better, although we still learn quite a bit from that. Typically better to submit a replay where you lose. It's going to help a bit more. Are you looking for replays to review at 1500 MMR? Are these all pre-picked? These are just whatever people sent me. Doesn't matter the MMR. Doesn't matter the MMR. Just matters the willingness of the person to have their replay reviewed on stream. Nights doing some work, though? Yeah, the Nights were a great choice. Submitting lost replay is hard? Yes, it is hard. It is hard. Next time you should get Neo replays. I would love to review one of Neo's replays. And I would love to review one of Beto's replays as well. I've been asking him, but... Well, that's toxic, Ace. That's not in the spirit of the show. That's mean and rude. Thank you for that, Fred. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Some people just don't get the spirit of the show, you know? Just don't get the spirit of the show. All right, replay 3. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce this. D-U-P-P-L-O. Duplo. Let's say Duplo. Duplo with a 0. And he says, and... the only reason I say what people say is because they post this in the Discord publicly, so I'll say what they said before the replay. Whereas if people sent me some replays in DMs, I won't say what they said in the DMs, of course. But this is what was posted in the Discord with the replay. It said, "Hey Carson, it would be awesome if you could give this one a look. Well, in the beginning it looked though I managed to get a huge lead. Later on, I got destroyed in the end. War 3 Champions actually displayed my enemy to be Night Elf, hence the weird build order. But other than that, I didn't feel I did any huge mistakes." Which is a perfect replay. He lost. He didn't know why he lost because he didn't feel he did any big mistakes. Perfect. Perfect. I don't know what's going to go on the replay, but just from that synopsis, it's a perfect submission of a replay. Beautiful. This will be replay 3. And it will be against, actually, our good friend Sithrin, apparently. Which was I was a little bit surprised to see. But, yeah, it'll be against our good friend Sithrin. This is a ladder game. It'll be an Orc Mirror. Sithrin is, of course, a Night Elf player, which is perhaps where that confusion came from with the build order. Thank you, Fred. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something, yeah. The early game was tough. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this will be an Orc Mirror, 1,500 MMR around. 1,500 MMR. It'll be on Terran's stand again. A lot of orcs today, but that's all right. That's all right. Okay, replay 3. Let's go. We do have to do this one Fog of War off, but let's talk about, of course, he said in his description that he thought he was against a Night Elf, which is fine, but let's say we know we're against an Orc opponent on Terranus Stand. What are a couple of the things we could see in Orc Mir on Terranus Stand? Give me 3 strategies. 3 strategies. What's the MMR again, and what level is it good? Well, it depends. Look at what MMR are most pro players. 22, 2300. What MMR am I? Like 1800. You know, so it's all relative. Yeah, this is your Orc, Sithrin. This is your Orc. I was surprised too. I was surprised too that you're the opponent. Yeah, what are 3 strategies we can see Orc Mir on Terranus Stand? And, you know, I mean, essentially 3 heroes. I'll give you guys the answer. We can typically see Shadowhunter, of course, because Shadowhunter is very strong when you can creep something early with Lightning Shield, as you can, of course, creep here. We can see Farseer, because Farseer is strong at countering this creep. Right? So the Farseer would be the counter to the Shadowhunter. The Shadowhunter would be the counter to the Blade Master, which is the most typical strategy. So they sort of counter each other in a triangle. So Terranus Stand Orc Mir is very much a mind game at the higher levels of what hero am I going to go? What hero am I going to go? And how are you going to counter it? Yeah, Shadowhunter Pitlord, this is sort of the OG map for it, right? So am I going to go Blade Master to counter the Farseer? Am I going to go Farseer to counter the Shadowhunter? Or am I going to go Shadowhunter to counter the Blade Master? Is typically how this works at the highest level. But all of them are viable. All of them work. That's the cool thing. It's not a cheese to go Farseer and Terranus Stand. It's not a cheese to go Shadowhunter. Not a cheese to go Blade. They're all good and they all scale well into the late game. But let's see what happens. Of course, he said he thought he was against Night Elf, so we're probably going to see a Blade Master, right? Probably. So that's totally fine. Whichever hero we see from either player, they're totally acceptable. Totally acceptable. All right. Oh, I don't. Yeah, this is I don't think both the people in the chat that are playing here, and yeah, Duplo, Sithrin Warcraft 3 in the chat is your opponent here. This is your opponent. I have to play Shadowhunter first on TS because it's so cool. Agreed. That's why I play Shadowhunter first on TS, because it's so fun. Literally, I don't even care if they go Farseer against me. I just go Shadowhunter. Also, it's not just Farseer. Sometimes you can go Fast Shop, right? Fast Shop, perhaps. And Speed Scroll Blade Master over here. You know, that's something we can also see, which would be a blind counter to the Shadowhunter. Blade Master, though, and Fast Shop, of course, because we think we're against a Night Elf. But this would also work against the Shadowhunter, maybe even against a Farseer if they're Lightning Shield creeping here, right? So it's not terrible in Orc Mir to go for a Fast Shop. You can also have items early to contest these middle camps. We'll see what our opponent is going. I did see a War Mill earlier. Farseer Headhunters? Oh, Sithrin. Oh, God. What time do you have in USA, Carson? It's 2:33 p.m. right now. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Not unheard of. Yeah, of course, after all that talk about the heroes. All right. Not unheard of, right? Okay, so Farseer 2 Rax Headhunters all in is very standard cheese in Orc Mir. It's the same thing, but you would just have another Burrow already, and you'd have a Farseer coming out. And then you go for Mass Tier 1, and you go for a Tower Rush, right? That's not unheard of. So this is not totally unstandard. The Torn Chieftain is something we've seen people doing, actually. We've seen Soin do it. We've seen Kiwikaki do it. Hitman do it. Torn Chieftain Mass Headhunters. Totally viable strategy, actually, in Orc Mir. It's totally viable. The question now becomes, now that we know we have to respect the strategy as a legitimate strategy, right? It's not a troll strat, it's a strong strat. How do we counter it? Well, we counter it, of course, by, actually I'll ask you guys, how do we counter it? How do we counter it? What's just a very surface level way to counter Tauren Chieftain first? Remember, we have to understand its strengths. What are the strengths of Tauren Chieftain first, and how do we counter those? Typically. There's, of course, always nuance in these things. Someone says stealing creep. Someone says pick off the headhunters. We would need to scout first. Yes, we would need to scout first. Yes. But we know that we will because we're already going for a fast shop. So it's probably going to be a speed scroll harass. So we're already going to scout it. Preventing leveling. Stop him from creeping. Naga second. Interesting. Grunt walkers are best versus mass headhunters. Don't let the TC creep. Massing with BM. Harassing with BM, sorry. Yep, good. Preventing the TC from creeping, because of course the Tauren Chieftain is a hero that is not very strong on level 1 and 2, and then becomes very strong on level 3, extremely strong on level 5, and pretty much game-winning on level 6. So yeah, stopping his creeping. Most surface level way of countering is stopping his creeping, so we'll see how that happens. Of course, yes, someone pointed out very correctly in the chat, we don't know that we're supposed to counter it like this because we haven't scouted yet. But because of the fast shop, we're going to have no issue scouting this. Mr. Scythrin is creeping up with some headhunters. And we'll talk about army, all that stuff later on. But let's just look at how the early game plays out. I think this is a totally fine choice to go for the items in the middle. Stacking that blade up is good. And we still don't know there's a Tauren Chieftain. Is Aura first standard? If you don't think you're going to be harassed, I think it's fine. It's not really a standard way at this point to play Tauren Chieftain first, but Aura is typically best if you know you're going to be creeping unharassed.
We're under attack.
Gloves of Haste are good. Nicely understanding how to creep this. Yeah, good. For those of you wondering how to stop this, once this guy attacks you twice, you just attack one of these creeps, and then he will not frost armor himself, as long as it's daytime, not nighttime. So you wait for this guy to attack your blade twice, attack one of these guys, and then he'll frost armor something else. That's how you do it.
Work complete. Work complete.
Now you're scouting this. Now that you've seen that this isn't gone and you haven't been harassed yet, you're probably assuming this is a Blade Master first, which I would as well. I'd say, okay, if it was Shadowhunter, he would have crept this. If it was Farseer, he would have either crept this or harassed me. So it must be Blade Master. But it's weird that I didn't see him taking the middle camps, right? I got both mids, so I'm a little bit confused if I'm Duplo here. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way. I'm a little bit confused right now. A little bit confused. But nicely scouting. Yeah. Probably the most likely camps to have been crept by now. Now we see the Tauren Chieftain. Okay. Obviously, we're going to just attack the Tauren Chieftain here. We see no salves. There's only a TP, no speed scroll. The obvious correct choice here to start this harass off is just to attack the Tauren Chieftain. Even pop the speed scroll. This should be a 100% kill or town portal force here. 100%. Good. Keep attacking. Speed scroll. Another thing that I see orc players do very often is they're afraid to pop the speed scroll to get a single kill. Like, especially against undeads, they're afraid to pop it to kill like a fiend if they're not 100% sure. Oh, that's a mistake. That happens to the best of us, so don't worry about it. But yeah, that was a 100% dead Tauren Chieftain. If you were just a little bit more confident with popping that speed scroll immediately, getting a couple attacks off, burning another Windwalk, kill the TC. What's the best way to stop him from creeping? Well, if he's in the altar and dead.
Upgrade complete.
Right, but now he's going to heal up, and it's still all right because we still slowed him down successfully, but we could have, we could have killed him. Got close to level 2. Tier 2, probably standard is best for now. Talk a little bit more about that later. But now that we're doing this, yeah, we're going to maybe kill him, but okay, we forced the TP. But this would have been better done before there was this many headhunters. Duplo. Okay, so one thing that's good to do, just generally, when you're harassing like this, because they have such a big investment into army, such a big investment into early creeping, and you have such a little investment into, you know, essentially creeping. You're just waiting for your tech to finish. You're waiting for your second hero to get out. You're chilling. You're just purely wanting to harass them. What's the best thing to do when you're harassing? Wait till they start creeping, and then start to do the damage. So right here, you just attack the TC, but there's not really any risk. Of course, he's forced into the town portal because he didn't buy a speed scroll. But if you wait for him to start creeping and then harass, it's always going to be better. So just be happy when you're doing this harassment. If the point of the harassment is to stop the creeping, just be happy that they're not creeping. Don't feel the need to attack things if they haven't already started a creep camp. You can chill, just sit right here. If he's not starting to creep, don't worry about it. If he's not starting to creep, don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to feel pressured to do anything because he's invested into all of these units to creep, and you've invested into just this. Well, and a grunt now. But you see the point. 2 grunts. But still, which will soon have to go back to creep up the Shadow Hunter. But you've invested so little, so if he's sitting here not creeping, that's fine. And then as soon as he does start creeping, that's when you can pressure. You can walk in, steal creeps. You can attack headhunters, get kills. But this was, you know, although you forced the town portal, I would still call it a mistake. Because you just sort of let him trade with your Blade Master, and now he's going to TP, heal up, and he can just start creeping for free. Right, very important to know when to commit in for the harassment. This is something Hitman does extremely well, especially against Undead, is where you'll see this most commonly. Because that's most commonly where you'll have a Blade Master harassing an army. Again, see? Again. He hasn't started creeping. We smell blood in the water. So we're going to invest in how many salves do we have left? 1. We have no windwalks. Right? We maybe could have canceled the salve and then ran away, but this looks as though you're going to commit in for this kill. And he hasn't even started creeping yet. And we only have 1 salve left. So the harass is essentially over. So as soon as this TC gets away here, or doesn't, I'm assuming he might actually get away with the amount of damage that he has on your blade, he can just start creeping for free, and you're going to have to go all the way home. Yeah, 1 salve left. Oh. Yep, 0 salves left. The harass is over. The TC can creep. He's even going to kill your blade, I think. Oh, thank you, SteveOak96. With sub, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, man. Now he creeps for free. And you slowed him down. You did slow him down, but you could have done even more. It's really about min-maxing your salves, essentially. Your salves are your resources when you're harassing, and you have to really be worried about when am I going to invest these windwalks, when am I going to invest these salves. And you imagine you attack him right here, you kill a headhunter, you attack the TC some more, you know, the creeps do more damage, you know. A lot of good things can happen if you wait till he starts to creep.
Work complete.
And now Sithrin has a lot of headhunters. And what are a couple of options strategically? Of course, we can go Raider Walker Grunt against this. This is totally fine. Also, another thing we can do, which is very common, is we can just play pure hit and run against these weird strategies in Orkmere. Invest a bit more into Raiders, get a fast expansion. Because we have a Blade Master, if we can get level 3 Blade Master, we can constantly scout where their army is and play hit and run.
Research complete.
Nice.
Our hero has
Shadowhunter dives to creeps.
work complete.
It even happened to Hitman, guys. It even happened to Hitman on the first Orc Day on Last Refuge. It even happened to Hitman. Okay? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It happens to the best of them. But again, a very committal harassment. You got that item, you got the creep, but imagine if you didn't. And you really committed everything into just getting a single creep instead of committing just a little bit into slowing him down. Right? Now Sithrin got his pendant. He's going to get his level 3. And yeah, we've managed to slow down the level 3 by quite a bit. I'd say by quite a decent amount. But we're still in a position where if our orc opponent pushes our base, we are probably going to lose. I'd say that the story of this game is really practicing harassment with the Blade Master. Because Blade Master is very strong, yes, it can do a lot on its own. But many people forget what your goal you're trying to accomplish is, and they just smell blood in the water with their hero. I can kill a headhunter. I can steal one creep. I can force a TP, right? But then they commit all their resources in to doing that one thing, and then the harassment is over and done with. I think that's really the main focus of this game. What could be changed? There's a level 3. Now we can send our blade across the map, go find him. And what's the main purpose of the Blade Master if he does go across the map now? Well, to essentially stop him from pushing our base for as long as possible. Because if he pushes into our base and we're forced to take a fight right now, we will lose because we need level 3 Shadowhunters. So we either need to slow him down and avoid a fight or hit his main base. Those are our two options right now. And it seems as though we're going for the hit the main base, go for the expansion. This is actually a pretty good choice. Pretty good choice. Although it's going to be snuffed out immediately, I'd still say this is totally acceptable. Maybe a debate could be had as to what the proper response is here for Duplo. But I'd say this is fine. This is fine. Would like to see reinforced defenses and a couple of towers. He does have reinforced defenses. Maybe a couple of towers beforehand could be great. But yeah, this is great. The Blade Master is going to the main base. The Shadowhunter is trying to creep up what he can. And now I think you just go and hit the main base. He's got Headhunters. It's going to take him a long time to kill anything. You have Raiders. 2, in fact. And he doesn't have reinforced defenses. So I think buying a town portal, hitting the main base, avoiding a fight for as long as you can is always going to be in your favor. You may be against a level 5 Tauren Chieftain in the future, but at least you'll be against only Headhunters. And we're going to lose a little bit, but just a Chomp, just a Peon. These burrows are going to stand tall for a long time. As soon as we see a TP back, we get out of here right away. We get out of here right away. And then we just do it all over again. We Windwalk our Blade, we go for an expansion, and we just hit his base again. I think this is a good way to play. Oh, Stomp? Stomp? Kill the Raider? Stomp? Kill the Raider? Okay, we got out of this scot-free. Now the Blade Master lurks around. Oh, don't fight here. Oh, don't fight. Oh, no, don't fight. Do anything but fight. Do anything but fight here, Duplo. Yeah, not the fight we want. We see he's about to have Berserker upgrade. Our Shadowhunter isn't level 3. Like, we're getting kills, but it's not going to end perfectly for us, I imagine. There's 2 more stomps. Now we got level 3. Like, a decent amount of kills. Not as bad of a fight as I thought it would be, but still. Oh, yeah. Still not great. Hex? See, again, blood in the water. But at the end of the day, we lose everything, and there's still Headhunters, and there's still production. Right? Wait a sec. Does this mean the story of today for Orc players, for our first and third game, is just overcommitting to things? Overcommitting to things. Remember, here, we killed a burrow, we forced a TP, we got out for free without even using a speed scroll. And then we felt we needed to commit to the fight. Why? We forced a TP, we killed a burrow. We're going for an expansion again at home. We could have canceled this with our blade, and we would have been fine. And now no hit and run available, says I never came in the chat. Absolutely. 100% correct.
We're under attack.
And now even if we were in Cithrin's main base and he was in ours, we don't have the army to force him back. He doesn't need to come back. We have no army to stop his expansion either. We really did not need a fight here. There was no reason. We had the extreme positional advantage with there being no reinforced defenses, with getting out of here without using a speed scroll. We had a huge positional advantage, and we threw it all away. We threw it all away. Soon to be level 5 Tauren Chieftain. Lacking in units. Tier 3 tech would be great if we are planning to fight later on. Say in a world in which we secure our expansion, we've been playing hit and run for a while, we got a decent bank of gold. What we want to transition into, pretty much 100% of the time, is just Mass Tauren Spirit Walker. That's generally, even against Shadowhunter Pitlord, that's generally what you want to transition into. If they go Wind Riders, they're going to lose because you have Orb on your Blade Master. So, yeah, that's, you want to secure this expansion, play Hit and Run, and eventually go into Torn. That's the most typical way to play. But now it's rough, right? Because we can't really win a fight anymore. Sithrin's mining on 2 bases. We have no more hit and run potential because we lost our Raiders. We lost, the positional advantage that we did have. Now the Torn Chieftain's going to be level 5, and he's probably going to kill our expansion. Town Portal back, defend this, win the game, most likely. 39 against 48. And this is level 5. Ooh, and we all know what that means. There should be an emote for that by now. Level 5 TC.
Work complete.
Could have even killed his Expo before. Absolutely, he could have. With that positional advantage, if once he got out of here, he could have ran by, canceled his expansion, then speed scrolled their town portal out, and that would have been perfectly fine. Then you just re-hit the expansion again. But now, are we able to defend this expansion? Probably not. Are we able to counterattack? Definitely not. Oh. Maybe there's a world in which we can actually win this fight, now that I'm looking at it. Maybe. Maybe. I would say a good target would be stomp the walkers and kill both of them immediately. Because both these walkers would die immediately if I was Scythrin here. Yeah, actually a winnable fight. Winnable fight. Yeah, we're pulling ahead in the supply. Nothing wrong here. I would say maybe not the best decision from Sithrin to commit to this fight, honestly. Look at that. We're owning. We're owning. Boo, boo, boo. But the expansion has been stopped from mining. Ah, by the way, the heroes have been swapped the whole time. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Which is a War 3 booster bug. Yeah, so that was a great fight. Still, the expansion is mining. Still, we're no tier 3 tech, but we are now going into a tier 3 tech, so a good transition here would be a second Tauren Totem. We should always be looking towards Mass Taurens. Should always be looking towards Mass Taurens, Master Spirit Walkers in Orkmere late game. That's what we should be looking for, right? That's what we should be looking for. How does he lose at this point? I think there's definitely a way in which Duplo loses here. Yeah, I think... Carson, do you always have in mind which unit counters which before the micro starts so you know the sequence of targets? Well, typically it's not actually something, the more you play, not something you have to actually think about when you get into a fight. You just know that headhunters are going to kill the Kodos and the walkers, and that the raiders are going to kill the walkers and the Kodos, and the grunts are going to kill the raiders, and the heroes are not good against the raiders, sort of thing, stuff like that. And that the grunts are good against the heroes. You just know all that intuitively when you go into the fight. And the walkers are going to attack the grunts, whatever. You just know all that right away. It's not something that you should have to think about, it's just something you know immediately when the fight starts, the more you play, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, you eventually memorize all the armor and attack types. It's not even like memorizing them. It's just intuitively understanding. Like, you know what units these are good against. You don't even have to think like, oh, it's piercing and the walkers are unarmored. You just know these units are good against these units. Okay, because I'm new? Yeah, just keep playing. Just keep playing and it'll become very intuitive. Keep playing, it'll be very intuitive.
Upgrade complete.
I do have to double check. Yeah, 62 against 50 supply, but Scythrin over here is banking it up. Shadowhunter second. Yeah, this is really looking good, honestly, for Mr. Duplo. It's looking good now. This fight here was incredible. This fight here got him back into the game quite a bit. Pretty good. $62 supply is, of course, for the Blade Master player. Remember, the heroes are swapped. Which is very confusing, but this is the only... I think it only happens on mirror matchups. Okay. Items are much better for Sithrin this time. The mana is very good for Sithrin as well. Oh, it all depends on how big the stomps are. Oh my god, the stomps are huge. Scroll the Beast. There's no disenchant. Mana Stone should be passed for Sithrin. Book of the Dead is great. Pretty good positioning. All we really have to worry about is keeping our walkers alive and then make sure our blade is attacking the whole time. Heal Scroll, nice. Nicely done. Is good old Scythrin gonna lose this? This is seeming like a pretty good fight overall. That was pretty good yet again. Pretty good. Pretty good. Again, I would love to see some Torrents coming out now. But another expansion coming up. I do think... What? So how can we lose this game, I guess, is what we should be thinking about at this point. Because we've won 2 fights in a row. Our heroes are starting to get scary. Of course, he's got great heroes too. But our army is always going to be better, especially now that we're on tier 3. How can we lose this? Well, we could lose our Shadow Hunter. We could take a really bad fight against Stomp when we have no Shadow Hunter mana and just lose everything. Right, so that's really, we want to make sure our Shadow Hunter is always well positioned with lots of mana. I think is how we could, is how we ensure to win this game, right? I think that's what we do. Because good old Scythrin over here is just building headhunters. We'd love to see a Kodo from Sithrin as well. Kodo would be great. Hero focus with Hex Stomp could be dangerous. Absolutely. I think that is the main way that Duplo could lose this game. Is losing the Shadow Hunter, which is most typically how Orcs lose the game when they're ahead. Yeah, a Kodo would be incredible. Yes, yes, Scythrin. Scythrin. Soon to be level 6 TC in one more fight. This expansion is going to get canceled. Quite the banger of a game. Okay, so we're going into Grunts instead of a second Torn Totem. This could definitely go wrong. Grunts just, you know, the Grunts just aren't Torrens. And what can't you do to Grunts? Well, you can't resurrect them with Spirit Walkers. They don't have great pronunciation now, by the way. Okay, good. They don't have Pulverize, so although Grunts do good damage, they do normal damage against the medium armor of Headhunters. They're on paper, they're at least a soft counter for Headhunters. They don't have Pulverize. You can't resurrect them. Grunts are just not the best option here, especially since we're already on tier 3. This is a big mistake to go for this many Grunts instead of just putting a second Torn Totem down. Right, we only need 3 Walkers. Look at all the mana on these Walkers, too. Imagine 2 Torrens. I would take 2 Torrens over all these Grunts right now. 2 Torrens over 7 Grunts, I would take it. I would take it.
Our town is under attack.
Gonna cancel that. All right. 60 against 64 supply. Ooh. Yeah, good. Don't overcommit with your units. Just let your blade do the damage. Good positioning. Yeah, good positioning so far. Gotta be careful with these walkers, though. Oh, this is gonna be... Oh, Jesus. Speed Scroll could be invested here to get the Grunts on top, and I think it would be a decent fight. Of note, there's never been a Kodo Beast this entire game for Duplo. Oh, the stomps are big. Imagine 2 Torns, pulverizing the walkers, safe back here, resurrecting them. Oh, the walkers are falling. See, and that's what you really have to focus on, I would say, in these fights. Assuming that you're not building this many Grunts and you are going for Torrens, keep these walkers safe. These walkers are not here for damage. These walkers are here for Spirit Link and to revive your Taurens. So keep your walkers like here even. Just make sure they never get stomped, because if they get stomped, they're all dead immediately. So that's the big thing. Keep these walkers alive. Don't build these grunts. And then all that stuff about the harassment early game as well, and not overcommitting, right? But yeah, just not a good army composition. Just not a good army composition. And the headhunters work out in the end. Because the thing about heavy armor is it still takes 100% damage from piercing. So heavy armor isn't great. So even Taurens aren't ideal. But the fact that you can revive them and they have pulverize makes them ideal, right? And GG is called. Interesting game, though. Very interesting game. Any questions about that game? We have 2 more replays. Cool. We don't see that. We don't see that strategy too often, but it is a strategy. And there was a couple curveballs in there. Like I thought that it was just going to go horribly wrong, and then all of a sudden that fight at the expansion, I'm like, I guess it sometimes works. I guess it sometimes works. Hard to counter res, huge variety of units, yeah. Right. Well, grunts on paper, grunts make sense, right? What was your question, Ricky? The chat's been going nuts. On paper, grunts seem to work, but you know they're what we call a soft counter. A soft counter is when you have a good attack type but not a good armor type, or a good armor type but not a good attack type. A hard counter would be when you have a good armor and attack type, right? For instance, raiders against huntresses are a soft counter. They work, you know, both units are a soft counter to each other. Carson, thoughts on Shadowhunter Pitlord on TS? Extremely, extremely good. Unbeatable if the Orc player does not play hit and run that isn't playing Shadowhunter Pitlord. Not re-asking it? I don't care. All right. Going to take a 3-minute break. And then we're going to watch the last 2 replays. All right. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And of course, we'll take questions more so from you guys afterwards. Be right back. All right. We're back. Cool. Somebody gracefully copy and pasted Beta's very important question that he was tremendously upset that I didn't answer before. I mean, purple should have just pushed red, explode the second he won that fight. Letting red macro behind his Zerkers and creep a second hero seemed like a mistake. No, should have just ended it. 100% correct. Yep. Definitely should have. Sithrin should have pushed after that. Because he's building headhunters. He's only got headhunters. He's got level 3 already. He could just push it into the game with towers behind it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. What's our next replay? We got 2 more. Music is pretty decent. It's all from Epidemic Sound, which is non-DMCA music, and you just listen through a bunch of playlists and find some that work, and then we play it on repeat for like 30 minutes. All right. Replay 4. Oh, Jesus. Oh, wait. All right, well. What are we going to call this guy? What are we going to call him? Yeah, I guess we call him... Oh, what do we call him? Yeah. Yeah, we'll just call him OJ for now. Call him OJ. 1200 MMR. This will be, what was the matchup? Human against Orc, I believe. We have another human against Orc. On Terranistan yet again. Oh, sorry, okay. It starts as random against random, and then it's human against Orc. Okay. Another human versus Orc. Yeah. Those are the replays that got sent. All right, so here's replay 4, and then actually the last replay of the day, we have something a little bit different. We have a different matchup, so don't worry. We have a different matchup. Well, yeah, a little bit of a different matchup. Yeah, it's random. Could have been anything. All right, here's replay 4. 1200 MMR, human against Orc. We're watching it from the human's perspective. OJ. Human On Terran Stand, what can we do? I would say just go Mountain King, man. It's good in Human Mirror. It's good against Undead, right? We already established earlier it's good against Orc. And against Night Elf, you're kind of flipping the dice. Because, of course, they're not going to go Warden if you random Night Elf against another random player. You're not going to go Warden. You might go Keeper. You might go Demon Hunter. Keeper more often than not, which Mountain King's also good against. How do you pick the replays? Well, they all get submitted, and I take, normally the most recent ones, or when people message me a couple times, I'm like, hey, you mind checking out this replay next time? And then I go, sure. But I normally give priority to people that nudge me a couple times. Like, hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. But I only have time, in a show, or else we'd be here all day to do about 5, so I just pick up 5 of the newer ones.
Job's done.
Go watch them.
Job's done.
All right, Archmage. The safer option against random, of course, because it could be a Demon Hunter, and it could be, it's not always the best option in Human Mirror, right? It's not always the best option against, say, Crypt Lord. Right, but I like Mountain King first, but I think there's a debate to be had. That maybe Mountain King is better. Carson get random messages now? I don't think so. And by the way, people, don't think you have to send me a replay just before the episode. You can send me a replay at any time, and I'll always just make sure to try to include it in the next episode. So, you could just always send me replays. Footman going across the map, which is important. We'll wait and see what our opponent's race is, and then we'll see how we're going to react to it. Oh, and by the way, there was a message. He says, Professor Carson, I love you. My life's pinnacle moment would be for you to review my 1200 MMR very intense, entertaining fight on ladder. Me as human versus orc on flow ladder. Keep up the great work at Back to Warcraft, Professor Carson. Yeah, Cruncher, you could send me a replay. No problem. I'll review your replay if you send me one. Absolutely. I'm serious. All right, nice. Lightning Shield creep. Like to see it. Footman sees a Blade Master. Why is there a Blade Master against human, you might ask? Because both players were random. And random's broken against Orc. Okay, so now we know that we're against an Orc. We can check his base. Interesting base build, to say the least. This burrow could be used to creep the shop in the future, but, other than that, all standard things. Well, not really the 2 burrow tag with a fast shop, but, relatively against random. You guys know what you need to write now? Within reason, I'll read out whatever you guys send me as a preface to the replays. Blade Master gets an item. Oh my god, both items are on the ground. Okay, the Archmage is going to get it. Now that we know it's a Blade Master, we could go for an expansion still, which would be the most standard way to play. I think an expansion here would not be a bad choice at all. But we're against the fast shot Blade Master. I think we could still creep it in his face, though. Don't think there's any issue. Just creep it in his face. Fourth farm. Not before the tech, though, so we're going to play a little bit safer. But we're already in Wacky Town, because it's Terran to stand, random. He's a Blade Master against human. We're an Archmage against Orc on TS. We're already in Wacky Town, right?
Our forces are under attack.
A lot of attacks on the Blade Master. Again, we should always be checking the items, and we should also be building a farm here. What can we do if we build a farm here? Well, he has to use his last Windwalk to get out of here, right? Then we build a farm. And then he has to break Windwalk to cancel the farm. Then we trap him in here. Easy peasy, dead Blade Master, right? Easy peasy, dead Blade Master. All we got to do is check his mana. Ensure he's only got 1 Windwalk left. And then we build a farm in front. And then he's dead. He's dead. Should always be looking for plays like that. Do not think a Blade Master is unkillable.
Job's done.
Archmage should be looking to creep up level 3. Now that we're on 1 base, typically, Terran to stand, try to get that early level 3, and then maybe go for some sort of a tier 2 cancel in the future. Could have even called Militia, not just to go for the expansion, but just creep the Expo. Could have also called Militia to creep this. I think would have been a great play. This is a little bit too passive, especially seeing as though we saw this last game, right, with Sithrin. As soon as he bullied that Blade Master off, forced him to use all of his Windwalks, all of his health, he immediately started creeping a big camp, right, which is something that OJ should be trying to do here as well. As soon as you bully that Blade Master off, he's got to go back home, he's got to get more mana, all that stuff. Just take a big camp right away, get level 3, and then we can go over to his side of the map. That would have been a great choice because, as we now know, the Blade Master went all the way back home. So this is a little bit too passive, a little bit too scared for my tastes, right? But that's all right. Better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, the name's a little... yeah, a little interesting, but that's all right. A lot of buildings going up, but nothing too surprising. I like the farms in the back. Don't know about the militia creep. He lost a lot of peasants, but I would say level 3 is almost a higher priority now than getting more lumber. We'll just call him for one camp, and then you're back home.
Job's done.
Yeah, you might have a delayed second hero, but if you go into the main base, build a couple more footmen, we imagine he's level 3 right now, cancels these, kills this, it would be really good things, even if the Mountain King is delayed by, let's say, another 15 seconds, right? Should, of course, be trying to build some more peasants now. Improved lumber harvesting is coming up as well, which is going to help. But yeah, this is a very passive level 3 creep route. Very, very passive. But the Blade is taking all the risks. He's going to be level 3 himself. Is this a viewer submission? Yes, it is, Plague. There's a debate to be had on whether he should have called Militia, of course. But I think, in my opinion, I would have just really committed for that level 3 as early as possible and then tried to do some damage because the window is now closed. You can't do any more damage. You got really good items on your Archmage, but there's no damage really to be had. You can maybe kill a Grunt here, maybe slow down the creeping of the Shadowhunter a little bit. Or the Torn Chieftain. But of course there's no cancels to be had.
Research complete.
This burrow was used to burrow creep, by the way. It was used to burrow creep. But it is sadly going to fall. Was it worth it? No. Rifle Caster? Probably the right choice on one base against the Blade Master. Again, a debate could be had. Oh my god, all these peons are caught out now. Yeah, don't build your burrow there, folks. Even if you're gonna use it to creep. TC comes out. Sanctum is being delayed. Mount King is not being... Okay, now it's out. Good, it's out. I thought it wasn't being built yet. And that was pretty good damage. And that was even a late pressure. Kills a burrow, kills a couple of peons. Gonna lose a couple of footmen, but totally fine. We see the power of level 3 Archmage. But now the Mountain King's out. What do we do when the Mountain King comes out? Well, we want to creep that Mountain King to level 3. We got a couple of camps here. We got this one. We got this one. Maybe even this one. And we could continue to pressure with the Archmage while doing so, because look at these items. Our Archmage could slow down this Torn Chieftain's creeping by so much, all while creeping up the Mountain King. Wait, there's a free surround on TC? Eh, it's fine. This is an interesting question. Is it better to go for every surround or to never go for surrounds? I would say never go for surrounds in the long run. Again, this Archmage should be letting the Mountain King soak up all this experience and be pressuring the Torn Chieftain. If this Torn Chieftain is pressured, he stays on level 1, there's no way we lose a fight in the future. Better to creep near rather than mid camps. I would say try to secure that level 2 as early as possible. Oh, the boots. These items being left on the ground. Oh, that's unfortunate. But still a good fight. Still definitely a winnable fight. Oh, I would invest Invuln here, yeah. I would certainly invest it before the TP. But see, nice. Nicely done from the Orc, actually. Just gets out. I forced the Invuln. I killed a couple of units. Now just speed scroll away. There's a world in which You know, orcs smell blood in the water and they go for more kills. And then the orc, if he stuck around here, he would have lost everything. So that's nicely done from the orc. But from our good friend OJ, I mean, not too bad. Rifle caught out of position. But yeah, this may be a little over-ambitious with that Mountain King. We were very safe with the Archmage when we could have been a bit more greedy. And I'm very over-ambitious with the Mountain King when we could have been. Because like this, and this, that'll be, I think, level 3, if not 2.9. I think it would have been level 3, though, if he would have just crept those, played safe, pressure with the Archmage, keep the TC on level 2, if not level 1, and then do a big rifle push into the base, right? But now, we've already took it a fight, we've traded, we're like, you know, low on mana, we got no priests out yet. Although the orc is definitely being over-aggressive, we're not in as good of a position as we could be, potentially. Oh, go for that. Yep. Not an ideal stomp. Just kill the berserker. All right. We're gonna get out of there with just losing a berserker, and that's magnificent for us with just losing that berserker. Could have definitely lost a lot more. Want to heal up all these footmen, and then we definitely want to very much get this creep camp. Orc's getting some nice value with all these raiders. And just sharking around. But what are our goals? They're very clear still. Just get level 3 Mountain King. That's all we want. This guard tower maybe not necessary. This tier 3 tech certainly not necessary. But maybe you are feeling, you know, can't get out of my base. I can't get any creeping done. I'm not going to be able to do any sort of big timing. So I might as well go for the late game with this expansion. But I would say you're still in a fine position if you just creep Mountain King level 3 and just get some more priests out. Take a fight. The Torn Chieftain, remember, still on level 1. So as long as this TC is still on level 1, the rifles are still extremely good to go for some sort of a push into the base maybe, or to leverage that army into a tier 2 expansion, right? But maybe just, you know, just being scared when we should be confident and being confident when we should be scared is probably the problem, I should say, of this game so far. Wards are pretty good.
Research complete.
Alright, this will be level 3 finally, but a little bit late, isn't it? The TC is level 2. Yeah, I think maybe the best play of this game would have been to just go for a tier 2 expansion. No tier 3 tech. You know, just a tier 2 expansion I think would have been great for the human. Tier 2 tech, or tier 2 expansion, sorry, get a second Sanctum up, go into Breakers. I think that would have been great. Instead, this tier 3 tech seems a little bit confused. Like, what are you actually going for with the tier 3 tech, right? Master Priest will be great. We're going for 1 Sanctum Breaker, so this is a second Sanctum, but what are we really going to get from this tier 3? You're going to get a third hero, we're maybe going to get a staff, and then we're going to be out of gold. Whereas if we go for the tier 2 expansion, go for a second Sanctum, we get a lot of Breakers, we keep creeping this Mountain King. You can always creep this Mountain King up to level 5, and that's totally fine. But now we're like stuck on one base for a while, and we're kind of in between two armies that aren't really going to get much done, and the Torn Chieftain's going to be level 3 soon. Right? Terranistan can be wacky like that, though. But the Orc can certainly win a fight at any point. He's going to have level 4 Blade. Once this TC is level 3, the Orc can certainly win a fight because there's not many Breakers yet. Inner Fire's coming up, yeah, but we're really getting our damage from the Mountain King. And there's not that many rifles. There's 4, but was it worth the tier 3 tech? I don't think so. Orc just continue to creep. I think both players creeping here is totally fine. Totally fine. The Orc went tier 3 as well. Getting a Kodo. Does one get a Shredder? Pretty much whenever you need it, you just get it. If you lose a lot of peons as Orc, you'll get it, or if you go for an expansion as Orc, you'll get it. Human, if you need it on 2 base, you'll get it. Night Elf, if you need it on even 1 base, you'll get it. Undead, pretty rarely, but sometimes on 2 base will you get a Shredder. But yeah, it's pretty common to get. Certainly not something you should shy away from if you need it. It's very, very strong if you need it. Alright, into the base. This is fine to sort of pressure the Orc back, but not something we want to commit to. Nice clap, though. Jesus. That was a really good clap. But I don't think a fight we're going to win in the long run here. Because our tier 3 is just now kicking in. This is what we call an anti-timing, right? We've got our master training, but look back at them. The Paladin just came out. Tier 3 just now finished. We don't have any sort of tier 3 units yet. We don't have any Knights, any Frag Sharp Mortar teams. We got Inner Fire, that's about all we have. So this is a timing where we've invested a lot into upgrades and other things that aren't currently in our army. So this is not a fight that we need to be taking, because the longer we wait, the better it is for us. Yeah, the Orc is tier 3, but he's going to get everything from his tier 3 right now anyway. He's going to get the Orb, he's going to get the upgraded Kodos, he's going to get Master Walkers up soon. So we're better off waiting here, we're better off not fighting here. So a Town Portal out immediately would have been great. Or now even would be great. The claps are good though, the claps are really good. The claps are really good. Jesus. Still, even if we end up winning this fight, I would still say it was not a good fight to take. Oh my god, there's another clap, guys. There's another clap. Oh, do it. Do it right here. Maybe not. Oh, don't lose your Mountain King. Level 4. Oh, now one of the heroes is going to die, actually. This TP. Okay. Maybe neither. Okay. Okay. Maybe not the worst fight, but I would still stand by that it was an anti-timing. Not the greatest. Okay, now we can just go into breakers. We can just go into breakers. We can get a staff. Like, again, tier 3, I just don't really see it doing much unless we get griffins or mortar teams or we have an expansion. Just don't see it really doing too much on 1 base, I should say. Whereas you imagine if we never teched a tier 3 there, just invested all of our resources into army and items and then took that fight. Definitely would have won, right? Definitely would have won that fight handedly without having to Town Portal out. But still in a good position. Still definitely in a good position. The Mountain King's high level. We got level 2 aura now. Need to scout this, but it might be difficult to scout. Especially seeing as though the Orc just lost a lot. We might not think he's going to Tiny Great Hall immediately like that, but he does do it. Unpredictable. Still building rifles, which I would like to see. Obviously, you want to get Inner Fire rifles, which is great, right? That pairing, but I would say the higher level this Torn Chieftain gets, the more necessary having a wall of breakers becomes. So more investment into breakers, I think, would be great here. But I see what you're going for with the Inner Fire rifle army. I see what you're going for. All right, just creeping. Creeping. Speed up a little bit. Both players are just kind of chilling. We are giving a lot of space, but of course we don't know that there's an expansion up behind this. Right? We don't know. Now we're going for our own expansion. A little bit late, though. All the creeps are almost gone on the map.
Job's done.
Alright. Winnable fight again. But again, look at the timing we're fighting at. We just invested into an expansion and a tower, and then we take a fight. Just like before, we took a fight as soon as our tier 3 was done. As soon as we were building a paladin, we were getting our tier 3 upgrades, we took a fight. Now we're taking another fight on an anti-timing, is what we call them. This is an anti-timing because we're expanding at the same time. What would not be an anti-timing? Well, potentially going in here and killing some peons and then town portaling out to buy time for our expansion. That would be totally acceptable, but taking a straight up fight at this timing is on paper very bad. No staff of preservation. Invuln could be used. There might be. Okay, there's no adept on the priests or on the swords. Again, we could still win this fight, But it would still be a bad fight overall, even if we do win it. Oh. Okay, we're out of mana now. First Tauren comes in, and there is Master Spirit Walkers. Oh, the TC dies though. Oh no. A lot could be killed by this blade, but he just, oh my god. Invuln! Oh no. Nicely microed by the orc, actually. Oh, but now he's gonna lose his, okay, no. He did wait for that one clap to come in. And as long as these two walkers stay alive, this Tauren's gonna be revived twice at least. Level 5 Mountain King, though. Alright, Tauren.
Job's done.
The expansion's up, though. The orc has 1,500 gold, so in a world in which the orc macroed a bit better this game, perhaps a second Tauren totem, more Taurens, perhaps a third hero, Shadow Hunter, more heal scrolls against the Mountain King. You know, there's a world in which he could very easily have spent that 1,500 gold. You would have lost that fight handedly, right? I would say Bash was a mistake to go. Like, I don't mean like a like he thought it was good and it's actually a bad mistake, but like a misclick mistake. Or an overlay error, which I doubt, but it could be. Yeah, definitely not something you should do. Yeah, probably just a misclick. Okay, Tauren's coming in. Now we're banking, which is decent. If we are banking, though, I'd recommend trying to transition into something. Again, just like earlier, Frag Sharp Mortar Teams, Griffins. You know, something. We need something, either Mortar Teams to deal with the Spirit Walkers or Griffins to deal with the Taurens. One of those two, because we know that's what the Orc is going for now. So we should be thinking about how to counter that. He bashed the Kodo worth. Yeah, but you should certainly retrain into Clap level 3, Bolt level 2. Banking is good. Banking is definitely good, but need to be careful because if we bank for too long and the Orc pushes our expansion, there's nothing we can do. There ain't nothing we can do. Because it takes rifles and breakers a lot longer to kill things than, you know, raiders.
Job's done.
Taurens with endurance aura. Alright, now we're breaking. But the question is, what do we break into, right? Like, breakers are going to be terrible. Rifles are going to get stomped. We really need either Griffins or Frag Sharp Mortar Teams here. Griffins or Frag Sharp Mortar Teams. That's what we need here. That's what we need. Because the Taurens are just going to destroy everything. Archmage, a little bit AFK. That's actually very unfortunate because not only do you not have your first hero, but you don't have the aura. Yeah, just the army is just not good. This doesn't look like a tier 3 army. If you cut the paladin out, which now the orc is doing, it just doesn't look like a tier 3 army. TC seems to not have a lot of mana this whole time. Yeah, no TP kind of risky, but of course the gold is pretty limited here. Yeah, and like, we're fighting Taurens with breakers. And there's no Sorks, there's no Griffins, there's no Fracture Mortar Teams. The Mountain King is going to kill actually everything in one more clap. Okay, he doesn't get one more clap off. That would have killed everything if he had one more clap. Okay, Blade dies, TC dies. Level 3 Paladin, and we're gonna win, apparently. Alright. If the Orc kept his heroes alive, we see how good Taurens are late game, right? But the Orc did not keep his heroes alive. It's trying to tower up another base, but he's got to wait for level 6 Blade Master. Yeah, we can Tavern the Mountain King. We got enough gold pretty close. About to. There it is. And with the Aura, level 3 Aura is a great choice, of course. Definitely recommend level 3 Aura over level 3 Water Elementals. Look how fast the Mountain King's going to get mana back. Look at this.
Job's done.
Yeah, imagine level 3 Clap. Absolutely. It's like he has a statue. Yeah, look at that regen, dude. Oh my god. Dear lordy lordy. That's a lot of towers. But if the Orc gets a tiny Grey Hall, that's good. Walker been AFK for a little while. The cool thing about banking against Tauren Walker as well is, you know, you're still getting experience, you're still killing units, but they're always going to be above upkeep because they're going to be reviving stuff. Which, you know, they have an army still, but still an interesting thing. Where if you stay on 50 supply and you're trading, they're reviving, they're always going to be on lower economy, and you're still going to be getting crazy hero levels, which the human does now have. These are game-winning hero levels, absolutely. Probably will win the game because of these hero levels. As soon as we Tavern back that Mountain King, probably should have pushed. We don't know that this is coming up, but probably should have tried to push this expansion because we killed both heroes. And we didn't see the Orc at the Tavern, so we know that he probably doesn't have the gold to go for a Tavern revive. And then it could have at least killed all the peons mining here. Yeah, the Orc's on 51 supply because he revived Taurens, right? He revived Taurens and Walkers. He should kill a peon, though. He certainly can kill a bunch of peons. Yeah, now we're just chilling. But the Orc's about to be on 2 base. And we only got 1. I think always scouting is the best you can do. Yeah, more scouts this game would have been great. How could you actually... Okay, now we're going to more teams, but a little bit too late. How can you scout a bit more effectively? Of course, more Sorks, which would be great against the Taurens, and also adept training on the Sorks, which we didn't have earlier, even when we did have Sorks, which can help you. You can invis water elementals, you can invis even a rifle and scout with it, right? It's very, very good and non-committal to do if you have Sorks, which you should have Sorks here. Blades back. We haven't seen a Blade Storm yet. Maybe we will. Yeah, better scouting would have been great, but I don't think the scouting is necessarily what's going to lose OJ this game. Assuming he does lose, the Mountain King might carry him. It's just the army hasn't been good yet, the whole game. Now it's starting to get good with mortar teams, but there's just not the economy to really back this up, right? Like, he might get 2-3 mortar teams, he might get frag shards, but just a little bit too late. The 1 mortar team's even just to really break the towers, but it would have been a great addition to the actual army itself. Yeah, Flare would be not too bad at all. I never came for the mortar teams. That's something you could also do. Flare would be great. Flare would be great. Torn Chieftain should be out soon. Yep. It's 4.7, by the way. I feel like the TC hasn't got as much value as it should have this game. Not really doing the justice how effective the TC is against these sorts of armies. Flying Machine would be better for scouting? Yeah, a lot of options. See, you guys are mentioning so many good options. There's Invis, there's Flying Machines, there's Flare. You could even upgrade your Arcane Tower, which he has, with Reveal. A lot of good options for Human, which is unique to Human, that they have plenty of scouting available. And you should take advantage of that. See if they're expanding again. See if they're towering this expansion. See what their tech is in the main base. See what their hero levels is. You could just always be constantly scouting as Human very easily, I would say. Alright, probably going to see a Blade Storm. Oh, Blade Storm Stomp. When's the last time you guys saw that? Oh, do it. Do it. Blade Storm Stomp. Oh, okay. We're not going to see a Blade Storm, it looks like. Oh, clap all those walkers. Oh, yeah. And maybe if OJ was able to kill every hero here, maybe he could solo the army with his own heroes, but... Oh, look at the blade. Oh my god. One more crit. 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 Yeah, and again, the army is just not good. The army's just not good enough. The expansion was too late. The army's not good enough. The scouting was not necessarily there. But yeah, you need Griffins, you need Fractured Mortar teams, you know, to counter Taurens like this.
Our forces are under attack.
And that is going to be it.
Our hero has fallen.
And more Sorks, of course, too. Would be great. More Sorks as well. Would have been a great option. But yeah, I would just say take some time and think about what sort of army would I want. If I was given all the time in the world, what sort of army do I want against this specific Orc army? Think about it against Mass Wind Riders. Think about it against Raider Walker Kodo. Think about it against Grunt Shaman. Think about it against Mass Taurens. What sort of army would I want if 30 minutes no rush, if given all the time in the world, what army would I ideally want to counter these armies? And then when you get to a game, just do it. Because sometimes people think, which is sometimes correct to think, oh, I shouldn't go into Griffins because I'll just never have enough time. Oh, I shouldn't go into Fractured Mortar teams because I just won't have enough time. But really, if just as soon as you scout what they're going for and you think, this is what I need to counter it, you just put down that workshop right away, put down that Griffin aviators right away, you'd be surprised how often you can actually get to that ideal counter and win games because of it. Whereas if you're too scared, you don't think you have enough time, you're worried about getting pushed, and you just never do it, and you just stay on this honestly bad tier 2 army, you're just going to lose games because you don't have the right army. Tanks and towers. Yeah, Cruncher. Tanks and towers. All right. We got one more replay, and this is a good one. I'm excited about this one. So it's different. It'll be a different matchup. It'll be undead against human from the human's perspective. Well, I guess it's a human perspective again, but at least we have an undead today. At least we have an undead. We didn't see a night elf all day, did we? Yeah, it'll be OCDrummer against BushyMo. This is from, well, he says, at Carson, this is the final match of GNL Season 5. I'd love your insights on this back and forth game. So, the final match of GNL. The final match. So this is from essentially a tournament or a league. This will be a good match. This will be a good match. 1300 MMR. It'll be on Amazonia. It'll be human against undead. From the perspective of the human. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. This will be the final replay of the day. All right, let's check it out. Ba-ba-ba-bum. All right. Should be pretty exciting. Okay, we got some people here. Who should we watch? Watch it from Paz's perspective, my main man. All right, so OCDrummer is the player we're watching who was submitted the replay. Human player. The bottom left, we have BushyMo, undead player. Casted both these players because I've, of course, casted the gym cups, stuff like that, so I'm familiar with both of these players. Should be pretty exciting. Amazonia. So, what can you guys tell me about human against undead on Amazonia? What can you guys tell me? Some general thoughts. Human against undead, Amazonia. It's a kind of a unique map for this matchup, right? Thank you, Dorf, to Warcraft 3. Appreciate it. Cruncher says, leave the game. Well, we're not all tier 1 players, Cruncher. Winning tier 1 tournaments. So there is chances for us. The undead leaves the game, says Doc. All right, all right. Anyone who's not Grandmaster, have any thoughts? Criplord Expo? Hard Expo. Thank you. Hard Expo. Expo Harass. Yeah, it's a hard map to expand on. It is possible to expand on this map, but there is a little bit of, I would call a high-level trick, where you have to pull this camp with a footman without it getting ensnared, which is tricky. It's easy once you practice it, but it is tricky for lower-level players, right? So the expansion is very hard to creep, and of course in this matchup we typically do want to get an expansion. Duck also says Lightning Shield creep. Yes, which means you can get very early level 2 if you do go for it with a Death Knight, although you may not often do so, but certainly with an Archmage you could. So it's a difficult expansion, which sometimes leans the human towards playing one base, which is unique to this map most of the time. Yeah, pretty much unique to this map. And if we do go for the expansion, there's a very big opportunity for us to just lose straight up as the human if we're not very comfortable doing so. Alright, so far so good. Actually, this is a very unique way of creeping, you could say. Oh, we're getting double infeed here. Unfortunate. So, there's something we could have done about the Lightning Shield on this Water Elemental, of course. There's not much we could have done about the Lightning Shield on the Renegade. But yeah, this is going to... So essentially, by now, we're just thinking I'm not going to go for an expansion anymore. Right? Because we've lost 3 peasants. Our footmen are low. There is a 4th farm, which makes me terrified for OCDrummer. Makes me think he is going to go for this expansion. What's a cool thing we could do as we're about to lose our 4th peasant? This is rough. I would say cancel that expansion attempt at this point. One thing you can do, which is a little bit higher level, of course, but although this would have already been scouted, but there's a world in which it's not, you could put your 4th farm in the back of your base, human players. Yeah, it also denied a creep. Yes, this is a disaster, of course. Yeah, you could put your 4th farm in the back of your base, and then if the undead player scouts 4 farms like this, they're thinking, okay, he's going to expand immediately. Right, but if we put it back here, they might not scout it, they might think, oh, he's going to attack. So just a little detail. But this is very telegraphed, like even I know that he's going to go for an expansion. That's what's in his mind, and the undead player should certainly know that as well. 4 peasants falling. Still no level 2. A very good early game for BushyMo. Yeah, but just don't even go for the expansion at this point. Don't even go for it. Yes, that's exactly right, Mr. Mean One. Is DK still standard? Yeah, because Criplord fast expansion, of course the expansion is harder to creep on this map. So for the same reason that sometimes humans will go 1 base, most of the time we'll see DK because they have to play 1 base, but we have seen Criplord 1 base on this map. Alright, this should be a coil. Okay, not a coil. Luckily for us. One thing I should also point out, with these claws, this is just all the time, on every map, no matter what, with this Archmage against this DK. Anytime this DK is in range, attack nothing else other than the DK with your Archmage. Attack nothing else. Every time this DK is within this radius of your Archmage, every single auto attack will go on this DK. And then eventually, he's already at 200 health and you haven't even been doing this perfectly, he'll be on 50 health. He's got to go back home. This means if you are going for an expansion, you can do it much safer. Every time, this is something Todd actually does very, very well. Every time this DK is in range, get those fireballs on him. The footman doesn't necessarily have to. You can put a couple of footmen on the Death Knight, but it's mostly crucial for this Archmage to get the damage on the Death Knight. At all times. At all times. Oh, and it looks as though we're going for... Oh my god, that Death Knight's going deep. Okay, but the base is open. Also, one thing I'd note is if you're going to keep your base open in any matchup, right? In any matchup as human, only have 1 slot open. So close this slot, close this slot. If you're going to have an open base, only 1 opening into the base. No more than 1 as human in every situation. Unless you're in 2v2, in 1v1. In every situation, only one slot open. I don't think there's any exceptions to that. Either your base is fully closed or there's one slot. Oh god, we're gonna go for the expansion, aren't we? It'll be very late, but it seems as though it might be safe because we've waited so long. Typically, the longest you'll wait, though, is until nighttime starts to creep your expansion. Right? And now we're already on the third, fourth dot. About to be the fourth dot. Both players are equal skill, Mr. Mean One. We see the tech advantage about to be tier 2. Which isn't too uncommon in this matchup, but the expansion, as I pointed out, is very, very late. Very late. And that's what he's going for. Okay, here it is. Nice scout, actually, from BushyMo. No problem. No problem, OCDrummer. No problem, dude. Act like goes down. That's a very nice scout. Very nice scout from the undead. Okay, the militia are here. He's going for the pole. Actually, nicely done. Okay, so he does know how to do the pole, which is a tricky trick. Something I mess up all the time, actually. And now the creep is going to come up, but look how late this is. Like I said, the latest you're going to be creeping this is when nighttime starts, and now we're in the, what, 5th dot of night. Yeah, that's Maximilian. That's 100% right. He says, if one mistake happens on the other side, it can happen. If one mistake happens on one side, it can happen on the other side too. Yeah, typically at lower levels, and even at higher levels too. Whoever wins is the player that makes the least amount of mistakes. Because you're just constantly, it's just pure chaos. If you're not like a top player, it's just pure chaos. You're constantly making errors, you're constantly forgetting things, you're constantly losing units to creeps, losing your heroes for no reason, not using items. It's just a battle of who makes less mistakes. Yeah, exactly. And that's who wins. Whoever plays cleaner, whoever makes less mistakes.
A player's forces are under attack.
Until you get up to the very, very top level, and then typically, at least in Warcraft 3, there's not a lot of big mistakes. Like in Brood War, there's a lot of opportunity to make more mistakes, but in Warcraft, you can play like relatively perfect games if you're a top player. Oh, that's cool, Chuddy. I didn't actually know that. That's really cool. If someone can't make a proper pull, can always bring one worker and pull by placing a tower quite far. That's really cool. I had no idea. Okay, but the expo's coming up. Very late, but we got level 3 and we're pressuring the base. This is exactly what we should be doing. What we should be doing is not committing a bunch of footmen in, but just delaying. Delaying, because the tier 3 is on the way and the undead's going to want to push our expansion. So we want to threaten the run by, but we don't want to commit to the run by. So we pull the undead back, and now we just want to chill. Yeah, this is good, but don't commit to a fight. Just chill. Just wait. Just wait. This is fine so far. A couple of footmen are going to fall, but I would love to see OCDrummer turn around now. Killing the altar, cool. Not that effective. Because the tier 3 tech's done, Lich is out. Probably gonna get a third hero later, but not right now. So the altar maybe not the best target, but there wasn't really a great target because the shop was very safe. If you can kill the shop, that's great, right? Because that stops statues, stops destroyer forms, stops the orb potentially. But killing the altar not too great, and we lost about 5 footmen for that. So now the potential for us to pressure into the main base and deny an attack at our expansion is greatly lessened because we committed so many footmen there. Don't get me wrong, that's what the footmen are for. They're to delay, they're to buy time, they're to die to secure your expansion to keep it safe, but you can, find better uses for their lives, right? Shredder would be great here. Shredder would definitely be great. And that way we wouldn't have to invest into too many more peasants as well. Maybe we have enough peasants, actually. We got 10 on lumber. But a shredder would still have been great. Maybe a little bit earlier. You could have 6, 7, 8 on lumber, get a shredder. Easy peasy. But now we're going to have to defend. Maybe a pit lord here even. Lots of gold, not very much lumber. Can't afford tier 3 tech. Not even a second hero yet. So, you know, this becomes... Up to this point, it's been strategical, right? Up to this point, it's been purely strategical. The micro wasn't a big deal. You messed up the creep, which was unfortunate, but that's fine. I wouldn't even call this a micro thing. It's more, again, strategical, understanding what you're supposed to do to creep this perfectly. But now it becomes more of a mechanical thing. Now your macro's slipping. You should have a Shredder. You should have your second hero coming out. You should have a tier 3 tech on the way, a single Sanctum, maybe a workshop as well. Going for a second barracks, but at this point it's like, you know, needed a little bit better macro to be in a nice position here, whereas now you're probably going to take a lot of damage. Right? Oh, I don't mean if he didn't make a mechanical mistake, Chuddy. I mean, he was going for something that was strategically incorrect in how he crept it. Right? The overall idea, the overall plan of how he wanted to creep this initial camp was wrong, was my main point. Not that his execution wasn't also the error there. Overcommitment from the Undead, which is great. That's going to bring us back into the game. Very much an overcommitment from the Undead. And see, this is what I mean. It's a battle of who makes less mistakes. 3 Fiends are going to fall now. All the mana lost. There's the tier 3 timing gone. That's all it takes. It's not a, you know, we're not looking for perfect games here. We're just looking at who's going to make less mistakes. Mountain King's finally out. So now what do we want to do? We just want to literally just creep as much as we can. Get tier 3, get Knight, Breaker, Flying Machine, maybe a tank or 2, and just creep. We're happy to just creep as much as possible as the human here. We don't got to do anything else.
Forces are under attack.
Mountain King's out. Again, I would love to see him creeping this. Maybe even creeping this would be decent. Look how many creeps there is left on the map. This is paradise for the human player. Should have been a Dark Ranger if you're going to get a third hero this late as the Undead. Pit Lord not really going to do much at this point, especially with Rain of Fire. Yeah, the double racks for mass rifles, not a fan of this. Much prefer tier 3 tech. Knight, Breaker. Single Sanctum, single Barracks, single Workshop. You know, you can go 2 Barracks sometimes, but yeah, just Breaker, Knight, Flying Machine. Keep it simple. You know, as you get up to the higher levels, absolutely, there might be more nuances to what army you're going to go at what point, but in a game like this, just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Yeah, now tier 3, but still such a big investment on tier 2. And the Undead's just going to creep. The Undead's in a position once he gets Lich level 3, even if he's down a base, he can still win a fight because there's only rifles. But still, we're in a good position. We held our expansion. We're getting tier 3. We're chilling. We're chilling. Just keep creeping. That's all we need to do right now. Just keep creeping. That's alright. It'll be on YouTube in like 8 hours, Corbin. It's alright, man.
A player's forces are under attack.
Totally fine. Red camp being crapped. Good. One cool thing about going rifles on this map, however, is you can very easily creep the red camps as well, whereas if you go things like Breakers or Knights, you know, it takes a while before you can creep it. I would say this is an alright fight, but would love to have level 3 Mountain King. Okay, but still going to force a Town Portal, maybe even one more Fiend. Ooh, get the Fiend. Ooh, could have bolted that, but still, very nicely done. Going to get this red camp. And this is a very good position for OCDrummer. A very good position. A winning position, absolutely. 4 Fiends have been killed. The expansion is secured. About to be Mountain King level 3. We're going to even up the tech. We've got, you know, the buildings we need. You know, the second Sanctum, not great. I would like to see a Workshop more so than the second Sanctum, but it's fine. Of course, we're going for rifles, so we don't got to worry too much about flying machines, but in the future, I would like to see him transition out of rifles. In which case, then we'll need the Workshop. Good to run away because you're waiting for your tier 3 to kick in. You're waiting for that Paladin, that Inner Fire, that Staff, that Orb of Fire. So you're waiting for a lot of things, so the fact that you're giving this camp up is totally fine. I think that's a great choice. I think that's a great choice. But still, there's things to be crept on this side. Going over here, creeping this, creeping this. Even take the red camp, even taking the undead shop. I think would be all good things. Even if the undead goes into our main base and starts killing peasants, if we're creeping, totally fine. Creep Archmage level 3, or level 4, Mountain King level 3, totally fine. Just creep as much as you can because you got the economic edge. Oh, Invul Muse, Rain of Fire. Oh, that's going to give level 3. All right. Not quite the bolt I would have gone for. Of course, you wanted to stop the Rain of Fire. But still, I would just be focusing down one Fiend after the next here. Is the shop... I believe the shop's at the expansion, so... Yeah, shop's at the expansion. So you can't get Orb yet, which makes it harder to just focus fire things down one at a time, but still, one bolt, focus one Fiend until it's dead, over and over again. Don't really go for the heroes unless you can secure a hero kill, which you're definitely not going to secure a hero kill here. Unless he coils your Mountain King. Unless he coils your Mountain King. Yeah, just go for one Fiend after the next. Another thing you could do, this is something a player named Acid Rain used to do very, very well. I used to see him do it a ton. At every point of the game, every stage, no matter when he'd get into a fight, he would always take every water elemental and right-click them on the statues. Uncontrol group them, not even worry about them. He would just send every water elemental onto one statue, shift-click them onto the next statue. Every single fight. And what does that force the undead to do? Well, it forces them to, save 2 units at the same time, but it also forces them to run their statues back and not heal with them, not give mana with them, and a lot of the time they just lose their statues. And what are you committing? You're committing useless water elementals. You're already killing everything with Bolt. So yeah, put the water elementals on the statues and literally just bolt and right-click your entire army one Fiend at a time. That's all you have to do to win this fight. Very, very simple. Not much micro needed. The undead, on the other hand, has to do a lot more than that. Keep it simple. Just keep it very simple. No need to make a crazy army composition. No need to micro overcomplicate. You don't need to go for surrounds or anything. Just keep it very simple. Very simple. Yeah, you can go destroyers and eat the elementals, of course. But not if they're, you have to commit your destroyer to the back of the army if the water elementals are in the back of the army, right? Much more value can you get from doing that than if you just are attack moving them in the fight and they're just being killed by destroyers, Not that there is destroyers currently, but I imagine there would be. Had it been, had this be like a Grandmaster game, there'd probably be a couple destroyers in the air. Clap level 2 I think is fine. Bolt level 2 there might be a argument to be made that that's better, but Clap level 2 I think is fine. They're both fine. Clap level 2 might even be more common nowadays. Situational. Yeah, we cancel the expansion. Still in a wonderful position to win this game. That fight didn't go perfect for us. It could have gone better, but it still went fine, and we're still in a great position. Great position. Would love to see upgrades as well. Where are the upgrades? 1-0. Get these suckers to 3-3. Look at our lumber. It's good. Just keep upgrading the knights. Keep upgrading them. 3-3 knights. That's our goal. 3-3 knights. Again, summon a water elemental. Put it on the statue. Bolt. Focus Fiend right away. Keep it simple. Force the town portal. Nicely done. Trading TPs is excellent because our opponent's on one base. Opponent's on one base. 73 against... Oh, the heroes are reversed again. That's a little unfortunate. Oh, well. You guys know who the undead, who the human is. Yes, 73 against 42 supply. Hopefully, by the next episode, they'll have Ward 3 booster fixed.
A player's force is under attack.
Going into the main base, I would say I would still creep here. I would still just, at any point in the game, as long as the undead isn't on 2 base, just be happy to keep creeping. There's no reason. This is really how you can lose the game. You commit into their base, they maybe get like an Archmage kill, or you don't even have a town portal. Yeah. But still, they maybe get an Archmage kill, and then they start killing your priests. There's lots of ways you can lose the game by just pushing into the undead's base, even though you're up by 20 supply, right? There's no reason to. You just keep creeping. You keep canceling his expansion attempts. Even build maybe a tank to stop his expansion, right? You don't need to commit into the main base to win the game. There's a destroyer in the air. Oh, is there staff? Definitely want to prioritize that staff and orb as well once you hit tier 3. Yeah, and look, although we're up by 20 supply, this is still an overcommitment. Could maybe kill... Oh, Bolt? Bolton's dead? Bolton is dead? Ooh, nice TP. Again, no staff. There's no way to kill the heroes. Yeah, this Mountain King's dead. Just an overcommitment. There was... See, that's an example of, like, I'm really far ahead. My heroes are good. I have the army I want. What do I do now? And the answer is you don't push into the undead base, typically. You stop them from expanding, and you contest what creeps there is left on the map. You use your map control not to just push their base and try to win the game. You use your map control to bully them off every creep camp and creep everything yourself, while stopping them from expanding, and that's how you get an advantage, even more so from this position. Right? But it makes sense why you players sometimes do that, is because you don't know what you're supposed to do when you're ahead, right? What do? Typically, you just go kill them if you have more stuff, right? But not in this position. You just use the bigger army to do things other than take fights directly, because having a bigger army gets you a lot of advantages. Not just I can win the fight, it's I can win every creep camp. I can expand again. I can get all the items from the shop on other maps, right? But still in a good position. Just have to not overcommit again. And certainly can't let the undead get this. No reason for the undead to be able to get this camp at all. Yes, Hawk style, when Paladin is out, insta-buy staff so you have one save. Yeah, because the cool thing about the Staff of Preservation is you think if you save one night with that staff, it's already paid for itself. If you save one night, it's already paid for itself. So there's no reason to not buy it immediately, even if you have to cut a night to get the staff. You know? Even if you have to cut a night, it's still totally worth it to get that staff right away. Still, totally winnable position, though. And this is a fine attack. This isn't pushing into the undead's base. This is stopping them from expanding. But there's no town portal still. A big mistake. No reason to not have a town portal. A very simple mistake. Very simple mistake, but a very big mistake. There is Divine Shield. Oh, no, there is actually Aura. Unfortunate. And again, no staff. If there's a staff on either of these... Oh, wait, there is a staff. Okay. Just mistakes. Interesting thing about this matchup. I want you guys to find me a replay of top players in this matchup. Death Knight against Archmage Fast Expansion. Find me a game where the human doesn't lose a hero and loses the game. I don't think it's ever happened. So the cool thing about this matchup, if you secure your expansion and then you just focus all your attention on keeping all three of your heroes alive, very often will you just win the game. So just keep your heroes alive, buy staff early, buy invuln early, use your Holy Light off cooldown. If you keep all your heroes alive as the human in this position, you pretty much just win. Yeah, get Divine Shield on your Paladin. Just keep your heroes safe at all costs. You can lose knights, you can lose priests, you can lose flying machines, you can lose peasants. Don't lose your heroes. Don't lose your heroes in this matchup. That's really the key to these late game positions. Just only use the staff on your heroes, really. Use Divine Shield, buy every invuln you can. Right, just keep your heroes alive. And he kills the DK though. Just attack move here. Oh, just attack move. Just attack move. Okay, he's going for the kill, which I respect. I respect him going for the kill. Oh my god. Is there a bolt though? Does the Mountain King die? Oh Jesus. Alright, the Mountain King, I don't know where the Mountain King was during that. That's funny. Still in a winning position, though. Still in a winning position. Oh, it was staffed? Oh, okay, I see. I missed that. Again, just don't lose any of your heroes. Totally fine in this position. You got this. You got the supply advantage. You can stop this expansion. A single tank is great in these positions. Especially if there's still camps to contest on the map, like when this red was still up, and this camp, of course, is still up the whole time. One tank to the expo, take a fight over a camp, easy peasy. DK coming out. Can also just split one knight here. Would be totally great. Don't tell people to use tanks. One tank, one or two tanks, I think, is great in this matchup. $73 against $54, though. Still a very much winning position. A lot of knights are low, but again, just keep your heroes up. Keep your heroes alive. Yep, kill those acolytes. You might have to town portal out here, but it's fine as long as you kill all the acolytes. Oh man, this is a scary undead army for only being that supply. Alright, unsummon. Good. Our job is done. We don't have to do anything else. We can just chill. How much gold? Probably 10k left in here. Yeah, 9.2k still left. That's the beauty of Amazonia. If we just stop them from expanding and just play cleanly from there, it's very difficult for the undead to win, especially if they don't stop our expansion entirely, which the undead clearly hasn't. No need to commit into this main base. Again, this is a big mistake. We just killed his expansion. We have 10k left in our gold mine. No reason to do this. Okay, good. Don't commit. Don't commit. The undead has to do something. He's got to push our expansion. He's got to take a fight. He wants to take a fight because that's the only way he can win this game at this point. If he sits in his base, will we mine 9.2k? We'll be 100 supply. We'll have 4 heal scrolls, 18 invulns. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. Still, 47 against 80 supply. The hero levels are insane, though. See, there is a world in which the undead could just kill all 3 of our heroes and then kill our expansion. And then we don't have any bank, right? There is a world in which we can lose. But just keep our heroes alive. That's our main priority. If we keep our heroes alive, we can just attack move everything else in the fight. That's all we need to do. And really, we haven't been buying invulns at all, which we should have an invuln on each hero at this point, and even a potion of heal as well. Like, that's not even an overcommitment. You'll see pro-human players do that all the time. Potion of heal, invuln on each hero, staff on each hero. Just keep them alive. Just don't lose your heroes. You don't lose your heroes, don't lose the game, in this matchup in particular. Not a bad choice to kill the peasants here. Not a bad choice at all. Plenty of lumber. 5k lumber, actually. And mortar teams coming out. Interesting. Don't think mortar teams is what you need right now. A couple of priests, yeah, would be totally fine. Invulns, I think, more than anything, would be what this gold should be invested into at this point. There's no invuln. Look, this Archmage is going to die, and then the Mount King, the Paladin, is going to die, and the Undead's going to win the game. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. The Archmage is going to get Coil Nova'd and died. And died. Oh, what do you know? TP out. Invuln, potion to heal. Could have afforded it all by now as well. Could have afforded it all if we just cut, what is it, 2 knights? A knight and a mortar team? Could have certainly afforded all of it. Or even this town portal that we just wasted, right? Certainly could have afforded an invuln and a potion to heal. Now we're going to get it, but we need 3. We need to keep all our heroes alive, right? Don't just need to keep 1 hero alive. We need to keep all 3 alive. But the game is very simple in that way. That's all we really have to do at this stage. There's no micro needed for this army. You just need to use Bolt, use Holy Light, and keep your heroes alive. You just need to attack, move the knights. You don't need to do anything else with them. The priests are just going to auto-heal themselves. The flying machines, if there is destroyers, they're just going to auto-attack the destroyers. It's very simple micro. Just keep your heroes alive. That's all you got to do. The micro is really not too difficult against undead overall. Just keep the heroes alive. Use the mana as well, though. You definitely need to use the mana on this Mountain King. Oh, don't focus the heroes. Just kill the fiends. Kill the units. Paladin dead. Oh, no. The Archmage is dead. Yeah, the Archmage is dead. Oh, no. See, look at the Knights. The Knights are all focusing on a hero right now. Just attack, move the Knights. Keep the heroes alive. Keep the heroes alive. Yeah, the heroes are reversed. That's just a War 3 booster bug currently. Should be fixed soon. But now all the heroes are dead. All the heroes are dead, and this is how human loses to undead when they have a big advantage. You lose your heroes. Lose your heroes. You just need 3 invulns, 3 health pots, literally attack move your entire army, and then keep your heroes alive. That's what you need to focus on. Keep your heroes alive. I say it again. If you don't lose a single hero as human against undead in a fast expansion game, you will not lose the game. You will not lose the game. You will not lose the game. Just attack move everything and don't lose your heroes. It doesn't even really matter at what skill level, I would say. Even at the top level of undead against human, TK against Archmage, if the human doesn't lose a hero the entire game, find me a replay where the human loses. Find me a replay. Find me a replay. All right. This has been going on for a while, so I'll take a couple of questions, if there is a couple of questions. Yeah, a couple of tanks as well would have won the game. I think a couple, maybe not mass tanks, but 2, 3 tanks would have been great. Zeppelin drop, a couple of tanks to the expansion, to the main base is great. But yeah, thank you for everyone for submitting the replays. There was a couple I missed out on, and of course, as I said at the beginning, if I haven't watched your replay yet and I've missed it, perhaps you just poke me on Discord. Just be like, hey, you missed my replay. You mind checking it out? Here it is again. And definitely, if you do that, we'll definitely watch it next time, which is April 15th. Right? How does it feel to be the best NA caster? Well, I don't know about that, but if it's true, then it feels pretty good, Cruncher. Why such a boss, Carson? I don't know. Don't even know what that really means, honestly. What does that word mean? Do you think you get Ludwig to play War 3? That would be cool. That'd be cool. Find any replay with 0 hero losses and this player loses. There won't be too many, right? Well, there's a lot of replays where neither player loses a hero. Right? A lot of replays like that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm a beginner. How can I improve and train my micro? Well, for starters, I would always say just play is the best way to really improve anything. Just play. But there are, if you go to Epic War, EPICWAR.com. That's a custom map website. And you just look up micro map or reforged micro map into Google. That will give you a custom map to train your micro. Reforged micro training, I believe it's called. Just Google that. And that'll help. But I would say the number one thing is just to play. Just to play. Want to submit Orc Headhunter yet again? Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, before I go, I'll let you guys know how to how to send me replays. So you can send me or go here. Hopefully that works. Yep. So there's the email. Carson at backtowarcraft.com. That's where you can email me replays, or you can go to backtowarcraft.com and join our Discord, which there is a TheoryCraft channel in Discord, and that's where you can submit your replays or ask me questions. I'll more frequently be on the Discord than I'll be checking my email. So if you do have a question, I recommend joining the Discord and adding me in there if you have any questions. Right? That's cool. If you want to send me a replay, you can do so in either, whatever you guys say. With 3 N's, was it taken? I didn't make the email, so Neo did. All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, that was a long one. But we also did our patch overview, so that's cool. So at least we got that done. Okay, and there'll be no episode next week because I'm moving, but the next episode will be Orc Day, and that will be on April 1st. And then we'll be back for the entirety of April. We'll have 5 episodes in April. And no episodes will be missed out on other than the interview from this month. But next month's interview will be very good. Okay. I missed the patch overview. Could you repeat it too? Well, it did take me about 40 minutes, but if you go check out the YouTube, it'll be up on there. Okay? Bye-bye. Oh my god, wait a second. Nubbyquakes with the 250 euros. Carson, Master of the Universe, he says. Jesus, I almost missed that, bro. I almost missed that. Can you believe that? Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Sorry I almost missed that, bro. I feel like I always do that to you. 250 euros, my man. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you. Jesus, I saw it like as I was about to stop stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank everyone else. Appreciate that. Very pog. Very pog. All right. I'll see you guys. Well, tomorrow is actually the card, and then I'll be casting Saturday and Sunday for Dust League, Group A and B, so I'll see you guys soon. Peace out. Thank you. Check my Twitter. Check my Twitter for the next shows.